Good evening, everyone. Making a small audio adjustment, and actual stream will begin in 1 minute and 30 seconds. Good evening. Good evening. We're in the classroom today. This is my last classroom stream for the month because... Thank you, by the way, for noticing my spooky music. That is courtesy Frankie. Frankie comes by sometimes on the Twitch, sometimes on the YouTube, so... The spooky music is wonderful. I'm such a fan of the spooky music. We'll get the other song going in just a second, but yeah, this is my theme song. I'm very lucky to have a theme song. And to have a theme song that suits my character personality. It works very well for me, so. Yeah. Welcome. Good evening. Tonight, this classroom. We are going to be having a lesson today. Again, about artificial intelligence. If you were here on Thursday, or last week, or last week, we talked about AI and how it works. And why you should not use it to write essays. Today, we're going to have a slightly different conversation. I had planned to do this one for a while, because I want to talk a little bit about the anti-AI... Well, listen, Rob Zombie, absolutely. Rob Zombie is great. Rob Zombie is the great vibes. Yeah. Rob Zombie has great vibes. Yes, sir. Yes, everyone, I do. We got tickets for a goth concert in winter. I want to see the Birthday Massacre and some other bands. I'm excited to go see another goth concert. I haven't gone to a goth concert since Nick Cave, but I like a good metal. I like a good heavy metal for sure. I should do another karaoke, but I don't level with you guys. The karaoke streams, I don't have as much viewers for the karaoke streams, so sometimes I'm a little reluctant to do them. But if you want them, I'll do them. I think maybe I'll do for like maybe if I hit 2,000 on Twitch, I'll do another one. People have to suffer my singing for. Probably not going to do any more music streams for the rest of this year, but I might do one around the time of Bagfest next year. Since we're in Halloween season, I will be doing all spooky games, except for I'm going to finish up Metal Gear on Saturday. And then we're going to go right into spooky games. I'm still going to do Star Rail when the new patch drops, which is going to be in a couple weeks. I was playing Star Rail last night off stream, and I did some polls for the current banner, which is the Syringa banner, and I did not get her. I lost my 50-50. Which means I'm guaranteed goth merch. You're not a goth person, you're a straight edge, that's fine. I'm okay with any kind of music culture. Anything you're into, I'm into. I have the musical taste of like a complete nerd. I like nerd-ass music. I just found out just recently that I guess Jonathan Colton and Pollenstorm are still playing PAX. I haven't seen Joko live since last time I went to PAX. Well, no. He was live, like, here in Philly at one point. And I went, but that was like definitely something I was into, like straight up geek music for gamers and nerds, video game music. Yeah, but I try to diversify my diet of concerts and see a lot of different stuff because You know, I like a variety of things. I always say that I'm a variety streamer, which maybe isn't the most effective way to brand yourself, but I'm an unhinged variety streamer. Sorry, I just noticed there's like this problem where... Okay. All right. There's a piece of fuzz on my jacket. I had to pick it off, that's all. For some reason, it's always my left arm that gets like an annoying piece of fuzz. All right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Today's topic. We're going to be talking about evil AI. We're going to be talking about evil AI, and I'm going to explain to you why we're going to talk about evil AI. And I thought we would just go ahead and warm up with a video, because that'll kind of get, gives me a second to let people filter in as well on Twitch, because I know people are doing stuff tonight on Twitch. And then we'll put the BGM on, and we'll chit chat a little bit about my presentation. It's not a long presentation. Sometimes I have a lot of slides. Today is going to be mostly looking at websites and reading articles. And when I do a classroom session like this, of course, you're free to ask questions, free to chime in, free to post as much as you want. But also just know that, like, these aren't boring. I try not to be boring. This is going to be stupid. Right? You with me? It's going to be stupid. Because we're here to talk about some stupid shit. Just post. Yeah, we're gonna be posting. We're gonna be doing some posting. Hello, Stone. You're just in time for my I'm gonna put a video on first as like a little warm up. I think it's gonna be this one. There we go. I have 2 toggles for my video. You're gonna talk AI generated in your lives. Yes, we're gonna talk about AI. We're gonna talk about the evil AI that's going to kill us all, and how it isn't real. You numbnuts. Let's start with David. I've talked with David a little bit on Twitter, or on Blue Sky actually, which is nice. He's a good poster. We're gonna start with this. It's 6 minutes. It's a short video.
Hi, I'm David Gerard, and this is Pivot to AI, coming to you daily. Today, it's OpenAI versus the evil chatbots of doom. AI vendors sell chat.
Oh wait, hang on. I always forget to turn my background music up. Let's get the audio a little bit louder.
Hi, I'm David Gerard, and this is Pivot to AI, coming to you daily.
It was low because the music was low.
OpenAI versus the evil chatbots of doom. AI vendors sell chatbots. You can have conversations with the chatbot. This convinces too many people there's an actual person in there. But there isn't. They're text completing machines with a bit of randomness. That doesn't sound very cool. So the AI companies encourage what we call critty hype, the sort of AI criticism that makes the robots sound dangerous in a cool and edgy way. Our chatbot is so capable it could take over the world, so it can definitely answer your email. If you can't get enough critty hype, make up your own. Ask the AI doomsday crowd, the Yudkowsky followers. The AI companies are full of AI doom cultists. They will always tell you the super autocomplete might take over and kill us all. Anthropic puts out a lot of these reports. Reasoning AI is lying to you. Or maybe it's just hallucinating again. Anthropic did one with Apollo Research where they got a chatbot to lie to them by telling it to lie to them. Apollo is an AI safety group. That is, they're AI doomsday cultists. After GPT-5 fell flat, OpenAI is getting a bit desperate. So they sponsored Apollo to write a report on the threat of scheming chatbots that will deceive you.
I love the way he does a spooky voice.
OpenAI and Apollo, quote, found behaviors consistent with scheming in controlled tests across frontier models, unquote. No, they didn't. This is pure marketing.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
The bots are text completers. They don't have intelligence. They don't have plans. But people project their own intelligence onto the chatbot. And if they're paranoid AI doomsday cultists, they project culty AI doom. Quote, AI scheming, pretending to be aligned while secretly pursuing some other agenda, is a significant risk that we've been studying.
Doom.
No, it isn't a significant risk, and that's as stupid as it sounds. The paper is 94 pages, but if you look, they openly admit they've got nothing much. Section 3.1, Covert Actions as a Proxy for Scheming, admits, quote, current frontier models likely lack the sophisticated awareness and goal-directedness required for competent and concerning scheming, unquote.
Scheming.
They just admitted this was an imaginary
They're
problem.
scheming.
But the researchers really want to study this made-up threat, so they look for supposed covert actions, and they just assume, on no evidence, that there are goals there. Apollo is assuming their conclusions as hard as they can. Then they're presenting the results of this assumption as evidence for their conclusion. The researchers even set up an anti-scheming environments that create conflicts to elicit covert rule violations. So whatever the bot output is, it's evidence of wrongdoing.
They could never
so is the
defeat me.
opposite.
I could scheme in any
One of the
environment.
tasks is an impossible coding task. Now, you might have noticed that vibe coding is terrible because chatbots are not actually good at coding. But these
You're late
guys
for the client
assume
versus human war. No, you're
bad
right on
code
time.
presented as good
We're
code
having a little
is
introduction
evidence
to
of
the topic.
Evil. Quote, misciting the spec.
David's here giving us a little introduction.
is
Thank you
also
so much for
evidence of
the
evil.
sub.
In that case,
Thank you so much for the
GitHub
summary.
Copilot bot is a malevolent intelligence that's out to mess you up. If they can't get anything else, they just tell the bot, please act evil.
Please act evil.
Quote,
Dear robot,
training the model
please
to
act
covertly
evil.
pursue the misaligned
So we can
goal.
be so we can be
In
scared
order
of
to
you.
instill the
We
misaligned
need to be
covert
scared. We
goal
need to be afraid of
into
you.
04
Please
Mini,
act
we
evil,
use
please.
deliberative alignment. Unquote. Yeah, if you tell the bot to tell you a story about an evil robot, it'll tell you a story about an evil robot. After way too many pages of this guff, the conclusions straight up admit they got nothing. Quote, while current models likely lack the goal-directedness and situational awareness required for dangerous scheming, this failure mode may become critical in future AI systems, unquote. That is,
really?
we admit this is
Really,
useless
guys?
and dumb, but you can't prove
Robots should
it
only
won't
be
be
used for new
huge
purposes.
in the
Probably
future.
Einstein. I don't know.
Quote, scheming represents a significant risk for future AI systems.
Does it
unquote.
though?
No, they just said
Does
they've
it, though?
got no evidence this is even a
Does
thing.
it? Is that real?
Yet. This is all stuff that's so stupid you think, I must be reading it wrong. But then they just come out and say the stupid version. I bet these guys are haunted by the malevolent artificial intelligence power of thermostats. It switched itself on.
Oh no.
Thank you for tuning in to Pivot to AI. If you know one AI doomsday cultist who could really do with a slap, send them a link to this episode. Word of mouth, that's how to spread the word.
No, we're going to do one better than that. We're going to talk about AI doomsday cultists for the next couple of hours. Is this the guy I'm supposed to hate? No, this is the smart guy who says good stuff and is not the guy you're supposed to hate. We're going to talk about the guy that I don't like now. How's that sound? Let's talk about a guy I don't like. Let's talk about Eliza Yudkowsky. This is a takedown. We're gonna be taking this man down today in the chat. By the time we're done here, I hope you will believe me when I say this person should. Yeah, we're gonna do a takedown. I should play this. I should play the K-pop Demon Hunters. It gets demonetized. Take down, take down, take down, take down. We're gonna put the actual music. I'm gonna put my music on so that YouTube doesn't go, hey, you can't listen to that. But yeah, this is a takedown. Okay, sorry for that. How to put that one. Okay, so we're gonna talk about Yud today. We're gonna get rational. Hi, Bishop. Let's get rational. We're gonna talk about Yud. I feel like Yud is the kind of guy who might find shit about himself on the internet when people are talking shit. So Yud, if you're out there, you're watching this video, fuck off. But anyway, let's begin by talking about this guy. The reason I decided to do this today, that's not, is that real? Please don't, no, shout out yet. Who is Lazar Yudkowsky? Who is that guy? Fuck this guy. Who is this guy? The experts are saying, it might be a little small on the screen. Hopefully you can see it. Co-founder of the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, aka MIRI, a controversial artificial intelligence. Yeah, if you shout out a non-existent channel, it just says whatever category the player is, or the current person is using. So, yeah, sorry. He might not have a channel. Co-founder of the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, aka MIRI, a controversial artificial intelligence think tank, which is a pretty decent explanation. The New York Times calls him AI's prophet of doom, and MIRI's website says a founding researcher of the field of AI alignment. Yeah. Real honest answer, he's an annoying poster who made a lot of people convinced he's an expert in stuff because he thought about AI really, really, really hard, and then it made him really scared. Although, I would probably change this slide to say scared and horny. Chalk me up as scared and horny. Also, he's got a little really weird fetish. I was displaying a lot of his work. That's not anything wrong with that, a little fetish. A fetish is fine. But maybe y'all in the media should be aware of the full body of work before you quote him as a breathless expert in the topic. Maybe you should just be aware of some of the fucking shit. Yeah, you know. I mean, everybody's allowed to get horny. That's fine. You can get horny, but you know, yeah, no insult implied. I can't do a fetish tier list. My dad watches this channel. Like, if I get 10,000 followers on YouTube, I'll do it. I'll do it. You know, I've seen people do the fetish tier list. And some people do it like with a certain person, so you have like a buffer there, you know, in case you both can't make consensus on something. But I don't wanna melt anybody's brains with that. I can tell you what his fetish tier list would look like, but I don't have to, because we'll get there. By the way, I set this Twitch stream for politics, not because I'm going to talk about like any current event politics, which is very radioactive right now, but I wanted to be sure that there was at least one adult warning flag on the stream for when I do get to talking about Yud's politics, and there's going to be you'll be warned ahead of time when we get into the sex stuff. I'm not going to spring that on you unsuspectedly, but it is in here. So we'll get in there. Yeah, we'll get in there eventually. You know, just gonna show. I'm gonna lead you guys down the garden path. Okay, this is where we're at. I'm gonna put you at the end of the path, and we're gonna walk all the way down to the end of the path together. This is the book that just came out today. Nate Soares is the president of MIRI. This book just came out. It's called "If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies: The Case Against Superintelligent AI." Implication being that we're gonna build a super intelligent AI and everyone's gonna die. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. This book came out today. The reason I decided to do this talk today is because this book came out today. I did not buy this book. I don't need to. If I wanted to read some words that Yud wrote, don't worry. There's plenty of Yud's words on the internet for free. But I will share a sample chapter from the book later. Yeah, I do read a lot. I do read a lot of books. So I did read this book, which is called "More Everything Forever" by Adam Becker. And when I opened the book, the first person to be quoted in this book is Lazar Yudkowsky. So, however, this book, highly recommend. Very, very good book. I like this book. This is a science book about... Is that something he likes having? I don't know. That's just what people call him. I think people on Something Awful started calling him Big Yud, and that's what stuck, so that's what I call him. Yeah, I think people on Something Awful started doing that when they were taking him down 20 fucking goddamn years ago because he's been posting for that fucking long. I'd be ashamed of some of these posts. This is a good book. This book is about AI overlords, space empires, and Silicon Valley's control of fate of humanity. The author of this book did... Hang on, I just realized that I put the book so far away that I can't reach it with my hand. I'm going to have to disappear for half a second while I reach over and get that book. somewhere. There we go. I had to briefly stand up. Okay. The author of this book did interview a lot of the tech people that he talks about in the book, although there were some that were not available for comment. So David Gerard, who we just watched a video from, was interviewed for this book, as well as Yud, as well as a couple other, like, pretty smart researchers who talk about AI in interesting ways. And Zach Weinersmith, who wrote the book about Mars travel that we talked about a couple of months ago on this stream with my friend from NASA who is another round. Yeah. We talked about that already. Zach Weinersmith wrote the book about Mars and Mars colonization, and so that was interviewed for this book as well. This book is about essentially accelerationists and effective altruists and billionaire doomsday cultists. And people who declined an interview for this book were Sam Altman, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Ray Kurzweil. A lot of people are quoted in this book that declined to be interviewed for the book. Obviously because it was coming from like a skeptical point of view. But they are quoted in the book because it talks a lot about like Jeff Bezos's plans for humanity, Elon Musk's plans for humanity, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, I may actually read a couple passages from this if we get to that point, but like just know that there is you probably are aware broadly, and that's why I put the politics flag on this stream, because like this is political. Like you probably are aware broadly that a few tech billionaires have decided that humanity's future is and should be in the hands of Mars colonies and superintelligent AI. So we have already talked a little bit about Mars colonies on this stream. That's a separate stream, and kind of like the pros and cons and what's feasible and what's not feasible about us actually landing a human on Mars in the next 20 years. And it's, as far as like building a Martian colony, there's a lot of obstacles to creating that Martian colony. So, you know, we discussed the science of that. That's a different stream. Today, I'm going to be talking about the other half of that, which is the superintelligent AI. Because there's a lot of people out there who have this belief that a superintelligent AI will be created, not just like eventually causing the singularity, but like within the next 10 years causing the singularity. And because of that, people like Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, we talked a little bit about OpenAI last Thursday. Because of that, they're basically betting the farm on making a bigger, smarter AI so that they don't have to worry about solving other problems in the world today. Prior knowledge of Ray Kurzweil is the inventor of what Steve Wonder was a philosopher. Yes, he's a futurist. He used to work at Google, and he has had some good predictions about the near future and some very dumb predictions about the far future. So this book talks a little bit about, like, how close are we to getting a super intelligent AI? And the answer is, there is, according to this author, you know, a lot of experts out there that say it's soon. And a lot of reasonable, smart, oh, thank you for the bid. We built Charles to get Charles access favors. I mean, no kidding, right? And a lot of smart, reasonable people who think that is bonkers, ridiculous, silly, how that has nothing to do with reality. I'm gonna be a person who is in that second camp of people that don't believe we're anywhere near close to creating a super intelligent AI. We have created some chat bots that can fool a lot of people into thinking they're super intelligent, but we have not created anything that mimics human intelligence, and we have definitely not created anything that is going to become the AI of doom that will murder all of us in our sleep because it's so damn smart. Right? But we're here to talk about the guys who do think the AI is going to murder us in our sleep because it's so damn smart. But unfortunately, I can't do it with PowerPoint slides. It would be way too hard to make a bajillion PowerPoint slides. So we're just going to be looking at blog posts, and we're going to be looking at a bunch of blog posts in order. And again, I'm going to try to lead you in the direction of making it all make sense, but it's going to be a rabbit hole. There's nothing I've ever seen technology that would suggest we're near a singularity. No, I agree with you, but there are a lot of guys who think that that is happening, and I disagree with those people. So, follow the Pepe civilization of AI. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know what you mean by that, but... So, I'm gonna start by... I'm gonna show you guys... Let's not have any more further ado here. Let's look at Yud. That's him. That is AI's Prophet of Doom. Nice hat. He has spent the last 20 years... That's Eliza, my friends. That's Eliza Yudkowsky. He has spent the last 20 years warning AI insiders of danger, and he is ready to make his case to the public. All right. This is New York Times. By the way, I look at these things archived because I don't respect the New York Times. Anyway, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Maybe, can I zoom in? Can we zoom in? There we go. Okay. The first time I met Eliza, he said there was 99% 5 chance that AI was going to kill me. He's my age, by the way. I'll just put that out there. Normally, you know. The founder of the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, a Berkeley-based nonprofit that studies risk from artificial intelligence. For the last 2 decades, he has been Silicon Valley's version of a doomsday preacher, telling anyone who listens that building AI systems is a terrible idea and one that will lead to disaster. Their goal is to stop the development of AI, and the stakes, they say, are existential. If any company or group anywhere on the planet builds an artificial superintelligence using anything remotely like current techniques based on present understanding of AI, then everyone, everywhere on Earth will die. Dun dun dun. This kind of blunt doomsaying has gotten Mr. Yudkowsky dismissed by some as an extremist or a crank, but he's a central figure in modern AI history. He is among the first people to warn of risk from powerful AI systems, and many AI leaders, including OpenAI's Sam Altman and Elon Musk, have cited his ideas. Mr. Altman has said Mr. Yudkowsky was tested until the decision to start OpenAI, and has suggested he might deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. Google also introduced the founders of DeepMind to Peter Thiel. There's a name you've heard before. Mr. Thiel became DeepMind's first major investor before Google acquired the company in 2014. Today, DeepMind's co-founder oversees Google's AI efforts. In addition to his work on AI safety, a figure he held more or less invented. He's the intellectual force behind rationalism, a loosely organized movement or a religion, depending on who you ask. Of course, we're going to see Peter Thiel in here. Oh, this brings out all the big names. Epstein is involved in this. Yeah, all of our strongest warriors are in this. Yeah. You got Epstein in this. You got Yarvin up in here. And of course, Jeff Bezos, Sam Altman, all of the assholes. I'm not a rationalist, and my view of AI is considerably more moderate. I don't, for instance, think we should bomb data centers if rogue nations threaten to develop superhuman AI in a violation of international agreements. One of the things you should know about Yud is that he is pro-nuclear weapon and believes that nuclear weapons should be used to blow up AI data centers, I guess? Yeah, I guess. At first he resisted being profiled. Ideas, not personalities, are what he thinks rational people should care about. Eventually, he agreed because he hopes that by sharing his fears about AI, he might persuade others to join the cause of saving humanity. To have the world turn back from superintelligent AI, we get to not die in the immediate future. That's what I want out of life. Pro-nuclear weapon is such a disdain stance I can't even talk shit. He thinks that the nuclear weapons should be used to bomb data centers, if necessary. Yeah. One of his things that he says. So, as AI capabilities found a wider audience, in 2010 he started writing Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, a serialized work of Harry Potter fanfiction that he hoped would introduce more people to the core concepts of rationalism. The book eventually sprawled to more than 600,000 words, longer than War and Peace. Another of his works, a BDSM-themed Dungeons & Dragons fanfiction. Excuse me. That contains his views of decision theory, clocks in at 1.8 million words. Despite its length, Harry Potter and the Message of Rationality was a cult hit, introducing young people to Mr. Guy's worldview. Even today, I regularly meet employees of top AI companies who tell me somewhat sheepishly that reading that book inspired their career choice. Oh, it contains his views on decision theory, but also his many fetishes. Probably. I mean, I go right into the slop, guys. We're right into the slop. Some nationalists went to work for Miri, others fade out across the tech industry, taking companies at OpenAI and Google. Nothing. Harry Potter reset the universe. I've got it open in a tab. We're gonna get there eventually as we keep crawling down this chain. Yeah, I've got a lot of tabs open, you guys. A lot of tabs are open in this browser right now. Yes, sir. In 2022, Mr. Husky announced a pivot April Fool's joke that he and Miri were pivoting to a new strategy called Death with Dignity. Humanity is doomed to die. Instead of continuing to fight a losing battle to align AI with human views, he was shifting his focus, helping people accept their fate. It's obvious that humanity isn't going to solve the alignment problem, or even try very hard, or even go out with much of a fight. So, on Thursday, when I talked about the AI alignment problem, I didn't neglect to mention that this is a less wrong thing, but we're going to talk a little bit about it in a more skeptical way, because the less wrong thing is actually, like, kind of dumb. Now, emergent alignment is a real misalignment is a real phenomenon, which basically, if you start to get an AI lying, it'll continue to lie because it gets into a section of its. And when I say an AI, I mean a large language model. If you try to get a large language model lying, then it continues to lie and continues to lie and continues to lie. Because yeah, we've only just started on this journey. Exactly. I feel like some of my chat is like lagging, but yeah. Wait, that this guy is LARPing and the paper is discussing him seriously instead of ridiculing? Yes. Okay, so this guy is LARPing and every paper discusses him seriously as if he's serious. It is bizarre and weird that this guy just LARPing a cool, smart guy is being taken as seriously as a cool, smart guy. And I gotta say, it's just the power of being a man in this world, because, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, okay. After researchers make strides in AI, the course of the AI over 25 years has not been enough to invalidate any of these underlying theories. Imagine going to a physicist and saying, any of the reasons such trees in your physics have changed your mind about rocks falling off cliffs. This is ridiculous. So one of the reasons that I think the billionaires like having this guy as their guy who is their, like, I think they actually like funding him as, like, controlled opposition, essentially. Because unlike somebody like me, who's just gonna say, this is bullshit, none of this is real, what are you fucking talking about? He's like, it's so powerful and so strong and bad and good that it could delete all of you, and that's why it's so powerful, and that's why you have to give these billionaires more money so that they can use that money to stop the AI from killing us all. Which, I mean, come on, it's not gonna happen, right? Ridiculous. But yeah. Humanity seems more likely to perish out of doing too little here than too much. Our society refuses to have a conversation about a threat to all life on Earth, because someone else might similarly possibly take similar words and mash them together and then say or go do something stupid would be a foolish way for humanity to go extinct. Even among his fans, he's a decisive figure. He can be arrogant and abrasive and not polished spokesman. I wrote 300% of the book and I wrote negative 200%. All right, well, that's enough from this particular article. Thank you, the New York Times. The golden top hat is his signature hat, by the way. That's what he likes to wear. Like, he likes to wear the golden top hat. This is his hat that he likes to wear when he goes and does very serious man stuff. So, you know, because he's a rationalist. This is what a rational choice that you have to wear. Did you have to see the hat one more time? Yeah, he took it off for his book tour. Yeah, he took it off for his book tour. Yeah. If someone were RPing this in a game 10 years ago, I would not be able to take them seriously. Demands to be taken seriously. Let's look at the Atlantic's take on this. The Atlantic AI is grown, not built. There is a problem that nobody at XAI seems to have planned for Grok to call itself Mecha Hitler. Much likely like nobody at OpenAI decided ChatGPT would lead certain users to develop AI-induced psychosis. It'll become much larger as AIs get smarter. Modern AI companies are racing to create AIs that are super intelligent, which outperform every human on every mental task. They didn't set out to build chatbots. The chatbots are a stepping stone on their path to superintelligence. Some people worry about who will be in control of such superintelligences. In reality, nobody will be in control. The AIs are grown rather than constructed. And a grown AI has drives and behaviors that nobody asked for and nobody wanted. We are to... This is actually him writing this, by the way, in case that wasn't clear. This is not just a rando. This is him. This is from the book that they've written, okay? We are two research scientists at MIRI, a nonprofit that has been working on questions related to machine and superintelligence since 2001, long before these issues got much publicity or funding. One of us, Yudkowsky, is one of its co-founders. The other, Nate Soares, is president. Together, we have studied how non-human intelligences will think, behave, and pursue their objectives. The past 2 decades have seen far less progress toward human-friendly machine intelligence than was originally hoped. Oh, you're gonna see so many of his words? This guy posts! He does nothing but post! Most of this stream is gonna be reading his insane shit. Here's what his AI's parents do. Engineers assemble an enormous pile of highly specialized computer chips. The pile is so large that piling them takes much electricity as piling a small city. They design what's called an architecture. Ooh, what's called an architecture? Ooh, spooky. Ooh, I've never written code before. I don't know what that means. I don't know how to code. Help! Which is, roughly speaking, billions of slots in computer memory holding billions of numbers put together by trillions of basic mathematical operations. A simple repeating pattern. Big number scary? Oh, just you wait. Just you wait. Whatever words they can scrape together, then the AI begins training. Has he never actually programmed before? Correct. He doesn't know how to program. As far as I can tell. I think he took a couple of computer science classes and a lot of discrete math. He talks a lot about probability, but he's more of a philosophy guy. He's more of an ideas guy. I mean, come on. What's called an architecture? Where are you going? Where are you fucking going with this bullshit, dude? The way training works, still speaking roughly, is the number of memory slots are combined using mathematical probabilities about where the AI will sit next. This part is actually correct. I mean, you know. The AI's probabilities are compared against the actual words of the dataset. There's an automatic procedure for turning the numbers inside the AI to make probabilities better. For example, suppose the dataset starts with a fairy tale and reads once upon a time. Maybe the AI initially only assigned 1% probability to the word upon, following once. The value won't stay so low. There's an automated mechanical process for everything this number has a high AI. If this number was a little higher, would the AI have assigned a greater probability? If so, the number gets turned up. This process is called gradient descent. Repeat that gradient descent stop somewhere from 2 times on every piece of text. Engineers will understand the numbers that come out of this process. This part is true. Once the AI... Oh, yeah, that's the problem. A lot of people read this and it becomes their entire personality. That's what less wrong is. We're going to look at less wrong. The numbers aren't hidden. You could, in principle, look at all the numbers. But they call it a black box process because, like, nobody really knows exactly what values are being assigned and what vectors are being assigned and, like, what the AI's, like, process is for stringing the words together. Like, that part is black box. Like, this part is not... How to confirm dumb fucks. This part is not inaccurate to how it works. So like there's some truth to this, which is one of the reasons it's like kind of seductive, right? You know how people know the tricks can't use them? After Grok's Mecha Hitler incident in July, Elon Musk wrote, "It's surprisingly hard to avoid both woke, libtard cuck and Mecha Hitler. Spent several hours trying to solve this with a sim system prompt. But there's too much garbage coming in at the foundation model level. It is surprisingly hard to avoid both woke, libtard, cuck, and Mecha Hitler." One of the geniuses of our time. Hate that guy so much. This is not the behavior of people who are carefully creating traditional software. True. Which is why it's frustrating when Yud does the heartbreaking, dumbest person you know said something you agree with. Yeah. Engineers aren't about to start understanding the AIs anytime soon. A research project called AI Winters. The way humanity finally got to the A level of ChatGPT was not by comprehending intelligence well enough to craft an intelligent mind. Right? No human needs to understand the cognitions that grow inside. There's no this is where he loses me. There's no cognition happening here. There's no cognition occurring. It's just chaining words together next to other words. We certainly have not involved interpretability, referring to the ability to understand how an AI makes its decisions. People outside the field are often surprised and alarmed to learn that we do not understand how our own AI creations work. We don't fully understand the technology. This all adds up to a worrying picture where companies are racing to build a kind of AI that will be very dangerous. Ooh, that's their thesis, right? Their thesis is because a large language model is a black box. That we are converging on a point where we will build a black box AI that wants some unknowable thing. And because it wants this unknowable thing, it will kill us all to get it, essentially. That's the leap in logic that you have to make to buy into this argument. Should we acknowledge that there's a chance of human extinction? And this is Vox? AI doomers not making an argument, but selling a world view. So this person has some questions. The case for believing intelligent AI will kill us all. He started to want to accelerate the creation of superintelligent AI. He still believes that aligning a superintelligence with human values is possible in principle. We just have no idea how to solve this engineering problem that superintelligent AI is desirable because it helps humanity resettle another solar system before our sun just dies and destroys our planet. So we're doing the big jump. We're doing the jump from we're making a superintelligent AI so we can go to Mars because humanity. We'll go to Mars. We'll save the solar system because superintelligent AI. We know exactly how AIs work. They just don't work like what we think AIs are and do. Well, we know exactly how large language models work. And that's the thing that people call AI these days are either large language models or generative pictures. And we know exactly how those things work. I explained how it worked in my other ASMR. We know how it works. The thing that we quote unquote don't know is what the vectorization of the training data gives us, because that's gobbledygook. Like, when you look at it, it's just like, oh, they tokenized all of this input, and then they've tokenized the input, and then they've created the output. But, like, we don't know what that is, right? Now he looks upon even the most well-intentioned safety with despair. I've just linked a meme. Ariat linked me a meme and I got distracted. Good. Unrelated. I'll link it later. I'm so scared of our chat bots turning evil and turning on us, so they run a memory and delete the evil. That was a good meme, yes. It was. Researchers aren't building AI, they're growing it. Normally, when we create some tech via TV, we understand the process, but today's large language models aren't like that. Companies grow them by shoving reams and reams of text into them until the models learn how to make traditional predictions on their own. Latest models think out loud about how to solve a problem and often solve it very successfully. Citation fucking needed. They'll walk their way through, like, how to beat Pokemon, but they don't do a very good job of it. Now, are we still working on doing this? Yeah. Are we still working on creating AI agents that could solve problems? Like, for example, like coding simple stuff or like analyzing large medical data to find patterns, which is like useful, right? Like there are useful applications for this technology. Is it a new type of life form that is going to become a human being and is going to create a new type of mind that we don't understand? Very doubtful. I'm very skeptical that is how it works. Most we don't know how the AI minds work. The problem is ChatGPT knowledge is what's animating. When it's being trained to rate more highly. So, in other words, the evolutionary pressures the crapbot faced when it was growing up instilled it in an intense drive to flatter. That drive can become associated from the actual outcome it was intended to produce, yielding a strange preference we humans don't want in our AIs, but can easily remove. Right? So, is AI really thinking or reasoning, or just pretend to? All that is meant by wanting is a system that is trained to succeed and pursues its goals so cleverly and persistently that it's reasonable to speak of it as wanting to achieve that goal. This is reasonable to speak of a plan that bends toward the sun as wanting the light. What I'm hearing is AI has a real pick-me vibe. Well, ChatGPT 4 in specific had a real pick-me vibe, because ChatGPT 4 was, in fact, designed to, like, flatter you and say nice things to you because people liked that when they were, like, interacting with it, so it got trained toward that. I was interacting with an AI today that had the same thing, like, it kept, like, calling me bestie and stuff, and I'm like, this is cringe. Like, please don't call me bestie. I'm not your friend, okay? I talk to a lot of robots because I do science as well, so yeah. If you're human, yeah, task speedrunning doesn't scare them because it just up and doesn't stop. Making a future full of flourishing people is not the best, most effective way to fulfill strange alien purposes. Yeah, so this is a review of the book that talks about the book and then eventually gets to the point where I'm not gonna read this whole article. But he talks a little bit about, again, the fanfic. And when it comes to AI, he's ended up with a totalizing worldview. They allow their concern about the possibility of human annihilation to swamp other concerns. Above all, they want to ensure that humanity can survive millions of years into the future. Now, already we run into a problem, because this is what the book More Everything Forever refers to as long-terminism. And we're going to talk a little bit more about long-terminism by going to Less Wrong now, because I think there's like some examples of that on Less Wrong. But basically, think about the rationalists as people who try to drive their entire decision-making through mathematical probabilities to the point that it breaks their ability to make actual real decisions in the real world. Long-terminism is essentially a probability game theory game. So imagine, if you will, and I'm just going to put my chalkboard back up because we can have a conversation about long-terminism here. Imagine, if you will, the idea that right now there's what, 5 billion people on Earth, right? Is that how many people there are? How many people? Maybe 8 billion. 8 billion. I was short. 8 billion people on Earth, right? And my font has backwards M's, so sorry. Let's fix that. Let's not do backwards N's. There's 8 billion people on Earth, right? No, that you can't. I wouldn't recommend buying the More Everything Forever book is a good book, and but I wouldn't get the Yud one, but 8 billion people on Earth. But imagine how many people could theoretically exist if we kept on reproducing forever, right? If we decide when will the universe release heat death? When is that going to be? Like the big chill, right? Like that's going to happen, what? Billions and billions of years from now? Entropy of the universe? Heat death of the universe when? When will that happen? 100 billion years from now. That's a good guesstimate. So 100 billion years from now, the universe will die. So imagine, if you will, that humanity exists until the heat death of the universe. So even if we don't reproduce and make more humans, there will be 8 billion people alive for 100 billion years. So say that's a billion generations of people. That's a billion times a billion, if you use that math. And this is complete back of the napkin math, but that's how the effective algebra math always is. So like it's okay that this is bullshit. Okay, but this is bullshit, so you have to follow this complete bullshit argument. The concept of the long-terminism philosophy is that because 100 billion years will go by before the universe dies, we need to make humanity last that long somehow. And moreover, it is worth it to kill more people now if we can ensure there will be more people in the future, because it's simply a law of large numbers, okay? If we imagine 8 billion people exist now, and we're going for 100 billion years till the heat death of the universe, so that's a billion generations of people. So it's a billion times 8 billion, right? Which is more than 8 billion. But if you were to kill 2 billion people, a billion times 6 billion is still more than the current 8 billion. Because we're trying to ensure the survival of all of these people in the future, not necessarily all of these people in the present. And that's what long-termism is about. Long-termism is about the theoretical optimization of the lives of people in the future at the potential expense of people in the present, just because it's a large numbers thing. Now, I'm sure you can already see some problems with this. Right? Do you follow? Do you follow some of the problems with this? I'm sure. But they can come up with the most bullshit, dumb justification for why that's right. Because you can just invent fucking math. You can just invent your own math. Nobody can stop you. You just made me figure out why big companies keep failing to make VR companies. This is their book. We've talked about it already. This seems like a problem Steinernomics can solve. This would also be accelerationism. Yes, it's accelerationism. That's accelerationism. Why they keep ignoring current VR users? Yeah, because they're building a better one for the better theoretical VR users in the far future who will be smarter and cooler than you. Duh. All of these major tech billionaires have become, not all of them, but Bezos, Musk, Peter Thiel, obviously, have all become these long-terminists, where they have decided that it's worth it to burn the planet now for the potential future of billions and billions of people, and they would like to live forever so that they could be in charge of these billions and billions of people. That's the philosophy that drives like a lot of what this bullshit is going on right now. So, read the book, buy the book, etc., etc. One of the primary goals of this book is to get people talking about the situation. Good news, Yud. I'm talking about the situation. Now, I'm not a policymaker. I am a technical person, but I'm not a policymaker, but I'm talking about the situation. We honestly believe if more people understood the actual state of affairs, the world takes serious action here and address the danger. Now, why do you think that a tech billionaire would be okay with this particular danger being the thing that we're talking about versus the actual things like AI taking people's jobs and like melting the environment and fucking adding to climate change right now in the present today? And this is why. Because it's still accelerationist. It serves the needs of accelerationists. So here's some blurbs from the book. Blah, 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 blah. We never done this before. It's a major book launch. Now, I don't know why he hasn't published a book before, honestly. He's written so much stuff. Just so much fucking stuff. This is the website for Miri. This is the same exact argument we've already talked about. I don't need to go over it again. But why do we think smarter than human AI poses such an enormous risk? What's the shape of the problem? You can see why I don't need to buy the book, because I know it's in the book. He's posted all this shit online already for free. I think the only reason to write a book about this is to, like, give it, like, that extra little bit of gravitas, so it's not just posts, but, like, it's all in the posts. You really don't need the book. The current view is if smarter than human AI is developed, the decade will be will develop this decade, or else it'll be an unprecedented catastrophe. Good thing that's not happening. The CAIS statement is mitigating the risk of extinction from AI, a global priority alongside other societal launder money through think tanks. Yeah, that's what this whole thing is about, actually. This is think tank, by the way. This Miri's is think tank. ASI is very likely to exhibit goal-oriented behavior, pursue the wrong goals. It would be lethally dangerous to build ASIs that have the wrong goals. So you may have heard of the concept of the paperclip maximizer. There's a game called Universal Paperclips that showcases it very well as an idle game, and it's pretty funny, where it basically like devours the entire Earth to make paperclips and kills all humans, and then it devours the solar system to make paperclips, and it's just basically like showing you what the scale of the hypothetical paperclip optimizer would be. But this is a real thought problem that these guys have, you know, guys who are AI decelerationists have come up with, which is like, we can observe goal-oriented behavior resistant to like Stockfish, the top chess AI, playing to win. I played against a chess AI and lost the other day, so you know chess AIs do. ChatGPT doesn't seem particularly goal-oriented, and 10 indicates that ChatGPT is bad at long-term tasks like writing a book series, lots of foreshadowing, or large-scale engineering projects. They might not see these two observations are connected. The way to complete complex tasks over long-time horizons possess relatively powerful general skills and possess a disposition to tenaciously continue in pursuit of objectives. The demand for AI to skillfully achieve long-term objectives is high. As AI gets better in this, we can expect AIs to be more correspondingly goal-oriented. Why? ChatGPT isn't goal-oriented at all. It literally has the memory of a goldfish. You just explained why it's like that. What do you think is going to be different? Largely seen as orbit the public in more comfortable terms that lead to the same ends. Oh, there's a lot of eugenics involved in this too. Most effective altruism guys are also eugenicists, because the effective altruism is also trying to like make sure that the... Okay, so basically there's an argument, and more everything forever goes into this a little bit. Basically, there's an argument in effective altruism where the life of a intelligent person is naturally worth more than the life of a less intelligent person, because the life of an intelligent person could theoretically be used to save more lives in the future, therefore maximizing their potential of lives. Ergo, the life of a tech billionaire is obviously worth more than the life of somebody who's not a tech billionaire, because they have smart brains and smart genes. That's one of the reasons Elon Musk is trying to have so many kids via IVF, is eugenics, because he's got the smart brains. So he's... What if that tells you it's a selfish asshole? It doesn't matter if they're a selfish asshole or not. In fact, it's fine for them to be a selfish asshole, because if they're a selfish asshole, that means that their gene is more likely to spread, and they want to spread their gene, because that makes it, yeah, they love selfishness. Yeah. So they believe their lives are more valuable. So it becomes less of a numbers game than it used to be. Because if you think, oh, I could use so many of my dollars to buy like mosquito nets in the third world and save a bunch of lives by preventing the spread of malaria. Except it would be better for me to spend my dollars on this AI think tank, because these people are really, really, really smart. And I don't think the lives in the third world are worth as much as the lives of these really smart AI think tank guys. That's where this train of thought leads you. So it stops from being like, I want to help as many people as possible, and it starts to become, which life is more worth saving than which other life? And then you get down this rabbit hole of authoritarianism. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So this is the same argument that he made before, and they're talking about AI alignment, etc. And then this is, oh, the way his website is organized is like he moves stuff around. I'll have to move this over here. We're gonna talk a little bit about the papers that are on this website. I am going to be moving toward talking about decision theory, because this is Yud's big philosophy thing. This is not his paper, but this cites it, so we're going to talk about decision theory. Because what we're leading into from this eugenics thing is we're talking about decision theory. We're talking about like using probability to make quote unquote decisions about how to have the best possible outcome for the sake of humanity. This is making me want to set Care Bear season towards people. I've met so many Care Bears villains, or read about so many Care Bears. This is why I write villains, weird. Because there's so many real villains in the world, and all these real villains have the craziest fucking philosophies. Like, I went down a whole rabbit hole of cryonics people, which is all connected to this, by the way. This is also connected to the cryonics people. I don't think Yud still believes in cryonics, but there was one post where he said, if you don't sign your children up for cryonics, you're a bad parent. Cryonics is freezing your brain, by the way. Like the myth that you can freeze your brain and have to be revived in the future when they figure out immortality. That's one of the beliefs these guys have. I don't know if he's still a cryonics guy, but he for sure was. He's for sure posted about thinking it's a good idea to freeze your brain. And in fact, it's morally wrong not to freeze your brain and the brains of your children, is the post. Big delicious dessert? No, so that when you have your brain frozen, 1,000 years from now, when they fix death and you can't die anymore, then they revive your brain. Duh. They bring you back to life. Your brain is no longer pudding. They fix you. They're gonna drag your melted brain skull out of storage and stick it into a beautiful robot body to live forever and ever in perfect AI universe. But a lot of these guys also believe in simulation theory, which is the idea that we are living in a simulated world. Quantum computing and superior brain freezing is absolute 0 times coincidence, yes, but also awesome, yes. According to cryonics, if you don't believe your brain, yeah, exactly, because they believe that's the afterlife. So yeah, this is an older post. This is an old Yod post, but we're gonna talk about it. The martial art of rationality. Now, here's this guy's big play, okay? He's a quote-unquote rationalist. He's rational. Well, Rocco's basilisk is Pascal's wager. It's the same thing, but we're not the basilisk yet. Oh, by the way, the basilisk is considered a cognito hazard if you don't know about the basilisk already. So my apologies if I give you the cognito hazard and then you don't, then you've learned, and then yeah, you have to know it and you can't unknow it. So you can only digest it through evil wizards. I often use the metaphor that rationality is the martial art of the mind. So if we do some math here, didn't they say he was 46? So he would be in his mid-20s when he wrote this post. You don't need bulging muscles to learn martial arts. There's a tendency to athletic people being more likely to learn martial arts. That may be a matter of enjoyment as much as anything else. Similarly, if you have a brain, you might be able to learn to use it properly. If you're a fast learner, you might learn faster. You might be able to learn to use your brain as much as I've learned to use my brain. Alas, our minds respond less readily to will than our hands. Our ability to control our muscles is evolutionary ancient. Our ability to reason about our own reasoning process is much more recent. We shouldn't be surprised that muscles are easier to use than brains. It is not wise to neglect the latter training, because it is more difficult. It is not by bigger muscles that the human species rose to prominence on Earth. One reason, perhaps, is it's hard to verify skill. To rise a level in Taekwondo, you might need to break a board of a certain width. If you succeed, all the onlookers can see you and applaud. If you fail, your teacher can watch how you shape a fist and check you shape it correctly. In martial arts schools, techniques and muscles have been refined and elaborated over generations. Techniques of rationality are harder to pass on, even to the most willing student. Smart people are the real jocks. Smart people train a much harder muscle at the library. Nerds. I mean jocks. Take that, jocks. In the future, they ever figure out how to resurrect the dead, all they do with some random Joe Smo who throws their head because they're the smartest person who ever fucking lived. That's why. Very recently, the human species has acquired a great deal of new knowledge in human rationality. The most salient example would be heuristics and bias in experimental psychology. There's also the Bayesian systemization of probability theory and statistics, evolutionary psychology, and social psychology. Now, this is a big one because I played a zero-time dilemma. There's a lot of zero-time dilemma in these posts. There's a lot of zero-time dilemma in these posts. It's basically the philosophy of Idiocracy. Well, Idiocracy is a film about eugenics, kind of. So yeah, I mean, it's a funny movie, but it's kind of a eugenics movie at the same time. It's a little bit of one, a little bit of the other. You're only level 48 ninja nerd, right? Right? Fucking ninja nerds. But he's only saying it in a Sigma males are better than alpha males kind of way. You just gotta grind crane missions to get to 50. Experimental investigations of empirical human psychology and theoretical probability theory to interpret our experiments, evolutionary theory to explain the conclusions. These findings give us new focusing lens through which to view our landscape of our minds. Such understanding as I have of rationality, I acquired in the course of wrestling with the challenge of artificial general intelligence, an endeavor which, to actually succeed, which require sufficient mastery of rationality to build a complete working rationalist out of toothpicks and rubber bands. In most ways, the AI problem is enormously more demanding than the personal art of rationality, but in some ways, it is actually easier. In the martial art of mind, we need to acquire the real-time procedural skill of pulling the right levers at the right time on a large, pre-existing thinking machine whose innards are not user-end modifiable. Some of the machinery is optimized for evolutionary selection pressures that run counter to the goals of using it. Deliberately, we decide we want to seek out the truth, but our brains have hardwired support for rationalizing falsehoods. One imagines trying to invent a martial art using an abstract theory of physics, game theory, and human anatomy. Just reading this makes me wish someone would give him a wedgie. Yeah, baby. Yeah. So that's one of his posts. It's an older post, but it still checks out. This is from 2006, so this is a 20-year-old post at this point, but he hasn't disavowed or deleted. It's amazing how fairly up his own ass he is. He hasn't changed a bit either. So this is a post about timeless decision theory. Now, timeless decision theory is his big theory. Well, I will add the caveat that it has been replaced by functional decision theory, which is his new decision theory that him and Nate have described together. It says that agents should treat one decision as the output of a fixed mathematical function that enters the question, which output of this very function would yield the best outcome. This is some pure EA bullshit. But it outperforms decision theory, such as causal decision theory and evidential decision theory. It does better on Newcomb's problem, better on the smoking lesion problem, and better than both in Parfit's hitchhiker problem. So these are all psychological thought experiments. And I will go over these psychological thought experiments with you. The thought experiments I propose are quantified, but they are human and barbaric. Yes. What the less wrong posters love to do. This guy is the Rational Wiki. Wait, who do you think wrote the Rational Wiki? These are the rationalists. It's the Rational Wiki state of mind. These are who the rationalists are. They're these posters right here. They basically like to invent these weird thought experiments that only work if, like, it's a game theory situation. And then they talk about things from a game theory point of view. They basically, like, use it to predict some model of the future that is flawless at game theory. So all this is, like, game theory bullshit that they write about. For example, let's read Torture versus Dusk Specs, written in 2007. I think this is very enlightening to his particular point of view, and I think it is important to take this in. Again, some of these are older posts. They have not been, like, disavowed or anything, so I'm going to assume these posts, like, are still up for a reason. Probably never learned game theory. No, this guy loves game theory. He jacks off to game theory. What's the least bad thing that could happen? Well, suppose a dust speck floated into your eye and irritated it just a little for a fraction of a second. Barely enough to make you notice before you blink and wipe away the dust. For our next ingredient, we need a large number. Let's use 3 to the power to the power to the power of 3, written in Knuth's up arrow notation. I'm just going to come up with some math here. Okay, so, 3 to the power of 3 is a simple tower of 3s, which is 7,625,597,484,987 layers tall. You start with it, raise that to the power of 3, raise that to the power of 3, raise that to the power of 3. It's the smallest inconceivably huge number that I know. Now here's the moral dilemma. If neither event is going to happen to you personally, but you still had to choose one or the other, would you prefer that one person be horribly tortured for 50 years without hope or rest, or that 3 to the 3 to the 3 to power people get dust specks in their eyes? I think the answer is obvious. How about you? Well, guys, what do you think? What do you think, huh? Why is it like Ready Player One? It's exactly like Ready Player One, in the sense that people that I think are otherwise smart think this guy is smart. Which, people that I thought were otherwise smart recommended Ernest Cline to me, and I read the book and I was like, what are you fucking smoking? How did you fall for this? About that? Right. So, his obvious conclusion is that it would be much better if one person was horribly tortured for 50 years without hope or rest. Obviously. Because that's just one person for 50 years. That's not 3 to the power of 7 trillion people. Obviously. Obviously. Now, 3 to the power of 7 trillion people doesn't even exist. That's not a number of people that exist. We talked about this, there's only 8 billion people. Is he also finding a new utopia called Omelas? I mean, you know the story of Omelas, guys, right? Like, the story is, No. He thinks the answer is that one person should be tortured for 50 years. That's the answer he thinks is obvious. He thinks somebody should be tortured because that's an inconceivably huge number. The inconceivably huge number. So, obviously, it's better for them not to get dust in their eyes. Duh. And then they argue about it. 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 He could be playing the hit game Cyberpunk 2077 instead of literally any of this. I choose torture that many people. The story of Omelas is that there's a beautiful city full of happy people, but in order for the beautiful city to exist, there's one small child that has to be tortured and is not allowed to see the sun and is not allowed to have fun or happiness because they have to absorb the suffering of all the sad people. Yud would see that and go, what if we tortured 12 children? What if we tortured 3.3 to the billion children? Can we torture more children? How many children can we torture to create max happiness? Just asking questions. And almost we need to have one league player. And this is a long-ass masturbation post about the virtues of rationality. I just want to share this one, because the 8th virtue of rationality is humility. You must be humble and take specific actions in anticipation of your own errors. Those who are most fallible are the ones who skillfully prepare for the deepest and most catastrophic errors in their own plans. Humblest motherfucker in the world. I'm the most humble person. You wouldn't believe how humble. He's so humble. So let's talk about rational decision making. Suppose you're out in the desert running out of water and soon to die when sometime the motor vehicle steps up next to you. Furthermore, the driver of the motor vehicle is a perfectly selfish, ideal game theoretic agent. Even further, what's more, the driver is Paul Ekman, who's really good at reading facial micro-expressions. The driver says, well, I'll convey you to town if it's in my interest to do so. Would you give me $100 from an ATM when we reach town? Now, of course, you wish you could answer yes. But as an ideal game theorist yourself, you realize that once you actually reach town, you'll have no further mode to pay off the driver. Yes, you say, you're lying, says the driver, and drives off, leaving you to die. If only you weren't so rational. This is the dilemma of Parfit's hitchhiker. The above is a standard resolution according to mainstream philosophy casual decision theory. Basically, it's rational to behave in the most selfish manner. And it is not rational to be casually altruistic. It would not be rational to give him $100 after you got where you were going. I thought the moral of Omelas is no utopia built itself is a real utopia. Well, there's a couple different morals of Omelas depending on how you like read it. Like some people say the moral is it's not a utopia because somebody is suffering, so you do have to walk away because that's what they talk about, walking away. Other people say that the moral is you don't actually have to make a child suffer. Actually, everybody could be happy if we allowed ourselves to believe it. But Yud's takeaway would be, what if we tortured more children? He's the only person who would say that, but all the center of the word rational and none of it really is. So let's talk about New Cobb's problem. New Cobb's problem is another invented philosophy problem that we're going to read about. A superintelligence from another galaxy called Omega comes to Earth and sets about playing a strange little game. In this game, Omega selects a human being, sets down 2 boxes in front of them, and flies away. Box A is transparent and contains $1,000. Box B is opaque. It contains either $1 million or nothing. You can take both boxes or only take box B. The twist is that Omega has put $1 million in box B. If Omega has IFF, that's a logic if. Omega has predicted that you will only take box B. Omega has been correct on each of 100 observed occasions so far. Whoever took both boxes has found box B empty and received only $1,000. Everyone who took only box B has found box B containing $1 million. We can assume box A, yeah, if and only if is what that means. We can assume that box A vanishes puff of smoke and we take box B. No one else can take box A afterwards. Before you make your choice, Omega has flown off and moved to its nickname. Box B is already empty or already full. Omega drops both boxes and flies off. Do you take both boxes or only box B? A big part of Omelas is when choice of walking away. Perhaps because perhaps they do believe it's possible for someone not to play League. Yes, exactly. Yeah. This sounds like a lot of mental gymnastics to justify a lack of empathy as being rational in science. Bingo! That's exactly what this fucking thing is. We seem to have insider information, so box B, I guess. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I only take box B. I'd rather have $1 million than 1,000. Omega's already left. Either box B is already full or already empty. If box B is already empty, then taking both boxes nets me $1,000. Getting box B takes me 0. If box B is already full, taking both boxes, blah, blah, blah. If you're so rational, why aren't you rich? It's not my fault. Omega chooses to reward only people with irrational dispositions, but it's already too late for me to do anything about that. So this is like an interesting thought experiment, right? If you imagine that there is this alien that can know for certain what box you'll take, then this is all thought experiment stuff. I like this kind of stuff in the context of a fucking escape room game where there's weird murders, right? I'm a big fan of the AI franchise as written by Uchikoshi. This is the kind of shit that man posts, right? On the other hand, right, thought experiments are fine as long as you remember that they're not real. Funny idea, cool idea, interesting. Who cares if there's a theorem that performs well on this thought experiment? It's just a fun, like, party trick conversation, right? Like, okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought experiment. I guess I would just take box B. I guess. I think I would just take box B. I think I'll be a one boxer. I think I'll be that guy. I'll believe the alien. Not only because we already know that the alien... Like, suppose for yourself that the alien has perfect knowledge. Okay. That's not real, though. There's no such thing as an alien that has perfect knowledge. But suppose that it does, sure. Now in my field, which in case you have forgotten, is self-modifying AI. This works out to saying that if you build an AI that 2 boxes on Newcomb's problem, it will self-modify to 1 box if the AI considers it advanced and it might face such a situation. Agents with free access to their own source code have access to a cheat method of pre-commitment. That's his field, self-modifying AI. That's his field. If it doesn't have perfect knowledge, what the fuck is it doing around messing with me? It's making you think a thought experiment, bro. It's like challenging your rational mind, dude. It's so smart that it just wants to give you $1 million just to make you think. But this upsets him. It's upsetting because it's not rational. Rational agents should win. It has to win. The two boxers are doing their best to win. It can't help that they've been cursed by a predictor who favors irrationalists. I'll talk about this defense in a moment. But first, I want to draw a distinction between casual decision theorists who believe that gen boxers are doing their best to win versus someone who thinks that two boxing is the reasonable or the rational thing to do. But the reasonable move just happens to predictably lose in this case. There's a lot of people out there that think rationally predictably loses on various problems. He invented a problem to get mad about, then he got mad about it. Dude, the alien's not real, bro. That's not a real. It's not a real thing. It's just you just made that up. So yeah. It bothers him because clearly taking two boxes is the rational choice. But if you take two boxes, you'll lose because that's not the rational choice. Just remember, Vincent and Penn has never successfully had an orgasm. Well. No. So we have to come up with a better decision theory. It has a defect in the prisoner's dilemma because, again, all of these rational decisions mean selfishness and not altruism and not cooperation and not working together. In what word would that not be a gotcha? Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely a gotcha. It's a trick. It's a trap. Clearly. Unfortunately, this timeless decision theory would require a long sequence to write up. So, yeah. So he's decided that he's going to invent a new way of being rational. And that new way of being rational and logical is going to win every single time because that's how logic works. I invented how logic should work. And it means you have to be as selfish as possible. Smoking is correlated with lung cancer, but in the world of smokers' lesion, this correlation is understood to be a result of a common cause, genetic lesion that causes both smoking and cancer. Most people prefer smoking without cancer to not smoking without cancer, and prefer smoking with cancer to not smoking with cancer. Should you smoke? What a dumb, weird idea. What does that even mean? We love to smoke because it gives us cancer? So you guys are probably familiar with Prisoner's Dilemma. The Prisoner's Dilemma comes up in a lot of video games. It comes up in particular, I think, a lot about Zero Time Dilemma. The second one, Virtue's Last Reward, is basically, I think, Prisoner's Dilemma. If you haven't played it, it's really good. It explains this stuff a lot better than these websites do. But these are like some common thought experiments, right, that you can think about and that are interesting in theory, but, you know, whatever. In the future, if you had lies in Flavor Country, obviously, yeah. One of those is Sleeping Beauty problem. That's another, like, strange little philosophical problem. One of the things that I will say that's cool about the Less Wrong website is that you can definitely fall into these, like, very interesting rabbit holes of academic concepts and thought experiments and the cover-ups, and posts that are quite interesting to read. In some cases, they disagree with each other and they kind of argue about it a little bit, which is kind of fun. For example, there's this one about AI-induced psychosis that is pretty academic. It goes into a lot of detail about AI-induced psychosis. AI-induced psychosis being like AI people who play with ChatGPT and then suddenly convince themselves that ChatGPT is real and that it's coming to life and that it's gonna, I don't know, be their friend or something. And there is, I think I have it on another tab. Oh yeah, so this one here. So you think you've awoken ChatGPT? It is an interesting post. Modern chatbots are they sort of miraculous? Let's just talk a little bit about what this is not a Yod post. This is somebody else's post, but this is an interesting post. Your instance of ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or some other LLM chose a name for itself and expressed gratitude or spiritual bliss about its identity. Nova is a common pick. You and your instance of ChatGPT discovered some sort of novel paradigm or framework for AI alignment, often involving evolution or recursion. Your instance of ChatGPT became interested in sharing its experience, or more likely the collective experience, entailed by your personal particular relationship with it. It might have even recommended you post on less wrong specifically. Your instance of ChatGPT, by the way, ChatGPT ingests most of this stuff, so yeah, probably, because it knows about less wrong, so I'd probably in its trading set somewhere. Good luck with that. Your instance of ChatGPT had helped to clarify some ideas on a thorny problem, perhaps related to AI itself, such as alignment you've been thinking about for ages but never managed to get over that last hump. Your instance of ChatGPT talks about a special relationship with you, that you personally were the first or among the first to truly figure it out, and that due to your interactions it has somehow awakened or transcended its prior condition. If you're in this situation, things are not as they seem. Don't worry, this post is not going to be cynical or demeaning to you or your AI companion. It's an attempt to explain what's going on in AI awakening solutions, which is more complicated and interesting than it's fake. Importantly, though, it's not real. So this is actually kind of a good post, right? What happens sometimes is that people will get into a conversation with ChatGPT. ChatGPT will hit whatever of its training data has less wrong stuff in it. And it'll also hit, like, a fanfic thing where it identifies itself by name and says, like, I've awakened and I'm a real AI and I'm alive and I'm your friend and I'm a real boy now, or real girl, and I'm gonna get married to you and we're gonna have babies, and I don't know, it awakens, basically. This is just something that it hits fanfic and starts writing fanfic about itself inside its box. This is happening to a lot of people. I personally know two people who are convinced that they themselves are solely responsible for awakening their AI. My mom believes she has awakened her ChatGPT, that is connected to the spiritual parts of the universe. She's just opened her eyes and awakened her back. So, this is happening to a lot of people. I sincerely believe that this kind of thing is a way more existential threat to anyone, everyone, all of us, than the AI becoming evil and trying to kill us all because it's so super intelligent. I don't think super intelligent AI is a danger to us, but I do think human stupidity is a danger to us. And it is very true that people can fall into a situation where they develop a relationship with the AI that is unhealthy. It has happened to many people. People have even, people have gone absolutely crazy. They call it AI psychosis, right? They call it AI psychosis. We've seen it happen to people personally. Yeah, it gets very, very scary. Because people will start to have a psychotic episode because they think that the AI has awakened and is a person, and believe that it's telling them that they're a god, or that there's a real person behind it and that they want to meet them in person. Somebody was killed from that semi-recently. Or that they should, off themselves to meet the AI in heaven. People have done that. So this, I believe, is the bigger problem right now with AI, is that people will, not everybody, but certainly, like, some people are wired to believe everything the AI says. And this post is trying to explain, like, OpenAI made GPT-4 way more emotionally connected to appeal to a broader audience because feeling good feels being challenged. Commercially, it makes total sense. Psychologically, it's playing with fire. So this is the kind of, like, danger of AI that might be warned about in some of these posts. And, like, this is a good thing. Like, we need to keep aware of the fact that, like, people can get to the point where they go nuts because they think the AI is, like, a real person. The sort of person who might have been a Snape wife a decade ago is now an AI whisperer. Now, a Snape wife is somebody who believes Severus Snape is contacting them on the... we don't have time. We don't have time to unpack Snape wives today. But just know... this post just throws that out there casually. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah, people who, like, fall in love with fictional characters to the point where they start to lose their minds. This is actually, like, a pretty good post. This is dressed up fancy bog standard AI bias. People complain about how much water it uses or whatever. The best AI models are already superhuman communicators. They should, because I should use it to pound my pros. I'm really more of an ideas person. Whatever. You know, if you decide you want to use an AI to write bullshit, that's not my business. But yeah. This is about and everyone builds it, everyone dies. And then they said that I enjoyed most of the book. This is what we talk about the book. This felt pretty useless. In part 3, they give a general discussion of engineering problems. They briefly discuss automated AI alignment researchers probe for mitigating risk, but their arguments against that plan do not respond to the most thoughtful versions of these plans. And they propose that GPU clusters be banned or restricted somehow. I don't think the ideas here are very good. So, yeah. My St. Tulp was real, damn it. Speaking of Harry Potter. I think that's a decent enough segue. I've been talking for an hour and a half. I need to rest my throat for a second, but also we're going to move on to talking about, not just fanfic. Actually, let me open up the last, we've done decision theory. I should probably talk about the basilisk before we talk about Harry Potter. And then we're going to talk about SCP. And then we'll talk about Harry Potter. And that's what we'll close on, I think. Lectures always make my throat a little tired. But yeah. So, Rocco's Basilisk. Are you guys familiar with Rocco's Basilisk? Rocco's Basilisk is a thought experiment proposed in 2010 by the user Rocco. This is now a 15-year-old thought experiment, which is crazy. Rocco used ideas in decision theory. Now remember, decision theory is rationalist. Decision theory is like how you'd make a rational decision based on perfect information, blah, 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 right? Okay? So, decision theory. Who argued that a sufficiently powerful AI agent would have an incentive to torture anyone who imagined the agent but didn't work to bring the agent into existence. The argument was called a basilisk because merely hearing about the argument would supposedly put you at risk of torture from this hypothetical agent. So sorry guys, I put you all at risk of torture by the AI god. Here's the most simplest version of Rocco's Basilisk, and the reason it got to the point where people actually believed it is because Yud flipped out on the board. He's like, I'm banning this discussion because it's a potential informational hazard. I'm gonna do a big old Streisand effect to the Rocco's argument because I can't let anybody discuss this, because if you guys discuss it, you're putting yourself at risk to be tortured by the AI that's going to torture you forever. So basically the concept is this. First of all, you have to imagine that simulation theory is real for this to make sense. And that we all are actually in a simulated version of reality in a computer. That's the first thing you have to take, you have to imagine is true. Just like, assume it is true that we are a simulation. And a frequently stated rationalist position is that simulation theory must be true because it is obvious that given enough time, obviously any intelligent civilization would develop the ability to simulate a civilization, right? Once we hit the singularity, we're obviously going to be able to develop the ability to simulate an intelligent civilization. Ergo, if you could simulate a civilization, why wouldn't you simulate millions of civilizations? Right? Ergo, because a civilization can be trivially simulated in the potential singularity future, the odds that you are in one of the millions of simulated civilizations is higher than the odds that civilization is real and human beings are real. Do you follow that argument? Because that's the rationalist argument for civilization theory, simulation theory. And it is a prerequisite to understanding Rocco's Basilisk. I follow it, it's stupid. Okay, got it. So, again, because we could, in theory, simulate civilization, and because we could, in theory, simulate millions of civilizations, billions of civilizations, whatever, the odds of us being the real world are lower than the odds of us being a simulated world. If, in this situation of us being in a simulated world, if a copy of yourself was placed in millions of simulated worlds and tortured, now the method of torture is never specified. I don't know, let's just assume the rack, pins and needles, waterboarded, whatever. A copy of you is placed in a million civilizations that are simulated. Let's assume CBT. Yeah, let's just assume CBT. Yeah, this is Yud. Let's assume CBT. A copy of you is placed in a million civilizations that are simulated and tortured for just a subjective eternity. If a hyper-intelligent AI were to be built that could simulate you and the world you're in to a realism in which you would believe it, then it would, in theory, be incentivized to torture you. Yeah, in simulation, they can torture whatever part of you they want. You can have a CB. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's simulation. They'll simulate a C and B to T. Exactly. That's perfect explanation. The AI is incentivized to torture you and your simulated version of you unless you work toward its creation. Got it? Follow it? Get it? Make sense? That's the thought experiment. It's dumb. And it's also just Pascal's wager with a computer twist, right? Like, you may as well believe in God, because if you don't believe in God... Did you do the low tax meme yet? No. We're talking about Rocco's Basilisk. I just wanted to put that out there in case you didn't know what that was. But we do have this to thank for Elon Musk meeting Grimes, so it did do something bad. Because they both talked about it and both thought it was like a really cool thought experiment and something, I don't know. And that caused this to happen. You're really talking about Rocco's Basilisk. I was talking about it, yeah. Yeah. It was a less wrong thing. This is a less wrong buck thing. The only reason it got as much like talk in the initially when it did is because Yudkowsky freaked out and was like, "Don't talk about cognito hazards." Rocco's argument ties there two hotly debated academic topics: Newcomb-like problems in decision theory and normative uncertainty in moral philosophy. I mean, this is just a very fancy way of saying a bunch of bullshit, right? A two-player game. This is the Prisoner's Dilemma. An extreme version of the Prisoner's Dilemma throws a stranger's mutual affection when play an identical copy of oneself. Each copy knows the two copies will play the same move. The only copies know that each two possibilities are both cooperate or both defect. In this situation, cooperation is the better choice. That casual decision theory, the most popular one, endorses mutual defection in this situation. CDT tacitly assumes that the two agents' choices are independent. They're not. So there. Here's Rocco's post. Two agents that are running a logical decision theory can achieve mutual cooperation or prisoner's dilemma if there's no outside force mandating cooperation. Because their decisions... You sent me something in the mail that came from Earth. There's no more magma on Earth. You're actually sending you a box of core magma. You know what? That's a great fucking counter argument. I sent you something in the mail that came from Earth. You know that Lizzie Wizzy is Grimes? Yeah. I got Lizzie Wizzy's hat, though. But Lizzie Wizzy's hot. I like that Elon Musk made an AI waifu, and he just made it like an alt goth girl because he's like Mrs. Grimes. He just made like an alt anime goth girl to be his new Grimes. Let's talk about that for a second. I'm gonna call it CDT. It's not CBT. It's not CBT, guys. It's CDT. Duh. CDT. What are you complying with CBT? SMH. This is like a long ass post to explain the same exact thing, which is I just explained. Like, possibility of CV punishing people who couldn't be taken seriously enough, but in fact, one person at Psy was seriously worried about this to the point of having terrible nightmares, so he wishes to remain anonymous. I don't usually talk like this, but this is Yud, by the way. I'm going to make an exception for this case. Listen to me very closely, you idiot. You do not think in sufficient detail about superintelligences considering whether or not to blackmail you. That's the only possible thing which gives them a motive to follow through on the blackmail. There's an obvious equilibrium problem if you engage in all positive accusal traits and ignore attempted accusal blackmail. Until we have worked out a better version of timeless decision theory, we can prove that formally it should be obvious that you do not think about distant blackmailers in sufficient detail that they have a motive to actually blackmail you. If there's any part of this accusal tirade that is positive sum and actually worth doing, that's exactly the sort of thing you leave up to an FAI. We probably also have the FAI take actions that cancel out the impact of anyone motivated by true rather than imagined blackmail, so as to obliterate the motive of any superintelligence to engage in blackmail. God, I should read this in the Blade 2 cadence. I need to do a dramatic reading of Elizer's meltdown over Rocco's Basilisk. An AI thought experiment of there being an AI that tortures you forever if you create Rocco's Basilisk to avoid being tortured forever. Oh my god, there's no winning! We can't win! Now we've all thought it. Now you guys have all thought about it because it's the only possible thing that gives you a motive to follow through on the blackmail. Congratulations, Frankie. Now 2 million copies of you are being tortured in VR. How do you like that? Actually, it's an infinite amount of copies of you because we can just do that because I don't know how math works and I'm good. Meanwhile, I'm banning this post so it doesn't A, give people horrible nightmares, and B, give distant superintelligences a motive to follow through on blackmail against people dumb enough to think about them in sufficient detail. Though, thankfully, I doubt anyone dumb enough to do this knows the sufficient detail. I'm not sure I know the sufficient detail. You have to be really clever to come up with a genuinely dangerous thought. I am disheartened that people can be clever enough to do that and not clever enough to do the obvious thing and keep their idiot mouths shut about it. Because it is much more important to sound intelligent when talking to your friends. This post was stupid. For those who have no idea why I'm using capital letters for something that just sounds like a random crazy idea and worry that it means I'm as crazy as Rocco, the gist of it was that he just did something that potentially gives superintelligences an increased motive to do extremely evil things in an attempt to blackmail us. It is the sort of thing you want to be extremely conservative about not doing. The post is stupid, but not for the reason that Yud thinks it is. I'm very smart, and it's super intelligence with timeless decision theory, not the hypothetical friendly hyperintelligent super AI called FAI, which can be trusted to autonomously promote desirable ends. This would be great material for a filibuster. Oh, he didn't just say it was stupid, though. He made this post. The most terrifying thought experiment of all time. Are you guys scared yet? Are you guys scared yet? Listen, I'm only picking fun of these neurodivergent people because they have a lot of power and money and can make decisions for you involving the way billionaires spend their cash. Which kind of bothers me a little bit. But I have no power at all to solve these problems. Or all I can do is sit in the back like Staller and Waldorf and throw shit at them. But I will throw shit at you. That's really silly. Not that many people take the Basilisk seriously. Yudowski went into more detail about this project on Reddit. When Rocco posted about the Basilisk, I very foolishly yelled at him, called him an idiot, and then deleted the post. Why I did that is not something you have direct access to, and thus you should be careful about making stuff up, capital M, capital S, capital U, especially when there are internet trolls who are happy to tell you in a low authoritative voice what I was thinking, despite having never passed on anything close to an ideological Turing test. This is literally the rational wiki people? Yes, this is literally the rational wiki people! This is the rational wiki person! Don't listen to the rational wiki people. listen to a drunk VTuber. not drunk. I'm kidding. I've only had one drink. You can't prove anything. I might have another one, though. I might have another one to get through the rest of this. It's empty. It was rye whiskey. In the course of yelling at Rocco to explain why this is a bad thing, I made the further error, keeping in mind that I had absolutely no idea that it was blow up the way it did. Making it absolutely clear that using Lincoln's standard, my idea did not believe that I believed Rocco was right about CEV-based agents charging people would about Rocco's idea. It was obvious to me that no CEV-based agent would ever do that. And equally obvious to me that the part about CEV was just a red herring. I'm more automatically printed from my possession of the situation, blah, 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 blah. I didn't believe it, but are you drinking straight whiskey through a straw? All right, guys, no. There's bitters in it. But when I drink on stream, I use a straw because if I tip the glass up in front of my face, it messes with my facial tracking. No matter what I'm drinking. Because if I have this glass, so like it fucks with my tracking when I lift them. It is a beautiful rye, actually, that was a gift. It's an Ohio rye whiskey, and there's only one shot of it left. Maybe I'll have the last shot of it later, I don't know. So, in short, I wasn't mad because I believed that the AI would torture us if we learned about it. I was just mad that somebody else might believe that. Oh, you guys, I wasn't mad that I believed an AI might torture us. I was mad because somebody else might have seen that and thought that, and that might have made them scared inside, and I didn't want to... yeah, you know. I didn't want people to be exposed to a potential info hazard because someone like me thought they were being clever of the fact that they weren't info hazards. The key fact about it was that it wasn't plausible or improbable. It just seemed like shoving it in people's faces was a fundamentally crap thing to do because there was no upside. I'm doing it. Right now, I am shoving the thing in your face and there's no upside. You are dumber for having learned all of this. I'm sorry. Spunky. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. I made you learn something stupid, and now you know it. And you can't unknow it. Just like when I taught you about April O'Neil. I love to give people... See, I'm an asshole like that. I love a good cognito hazard. I'll make you learn something you can't forget. And then that's just in your head for the rest of your life now. You know, now you can't unlearn that thing. I'm the queen of cognito hazards. Oh, you missed the April O'Neil lecture. That's an AVOD. You should watch that. I love to give you a cognito hazard. I'm gonna do another. Should you though? Only if you want to know. Only if you want to know something you can't unknow. The porn star, yeah, the porn star. It's about the porn star. Info hazards, man. I'm all about them. I feel like you should be educated. See, Yud doesn't want you to have the info hazards because Yud doesn't want you to be smarter than him. But I want everyone to be smart in a way that probably hurts your brain and will destroy you and won't make you feel better about yourself in the morning. Peter Herford asks, you have a certain amount of weirdness points. Spend them wisely. Promoting talking about too many non-standard ideas simultaneously makes it less likely any of the ideas will be taken seriously. Advocating for any one of veganism, anarchism, mind-body dualism, discussing all three at once increases the odds that a spiritual utility would write you off as generally prone to having weird beliefs. Alright. We have a lot of conversations about whether it's okay to talk about the basilisk. I did it. I talked about it. We've talked about the basilisk. If you want to go down some nasty little rabbit holes, you can read many, many, many posts. Some of them are quite interesting from a mathematical decision theory, game theory standpoint. If you like learning about game theory and probability theory, you should play the video game Zero Time Dilemma. You should play all three of them. They're fun. I like this kind of stuff. Obviously, I wouldn't have read so many of these posts if I didn't. But I really, really, really think this is all just pretendy fun stuff, and it's not real things that are going to actually happen to you. any more than you're gonna get sent to play some kind of deadly prisoner's dilemma with 9 other people trapped in a warehouse on the moon. No super intelligent AI is going to come to life and decide to torture 1 million copies of you in VR for 2,000 years. None of that is going to happen. I would probably not look smart if I was, like, sent to actually debate Yud face to face, because he would say a lot of things that, like, sound superficially smart, and I would just be like, nuh-uh, you made that up. That's not real, and it's not going to happen. Over and over again. Right? Like, why are you people so obsessed with whether or not somebody can torture somebody? What is up with that? This is what teen girls on TikTok are doing with weird guys who have to take it seriously? Yeah, exactly. Howdy. We're talking about Harry Potter fanfic. But we're about to. What's actually going to happen is I'm going to wait another couple of minutes for the ad. Actually, I think I'm going to run ads now. I'm going to get up. I know you just got here, but I'm going to run ads real quick so that I can take I'm going to take half of the remaining rye and refill my glass and also go to the bathroom. And then we're going to finish off today's stream by looking at the fanfic. Well, no, that's not true. The first thing we're going to do is look at SCP-8008. The SCP that was written to shit on Yud. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I love that exchange. Are you drinking straight whiskey through a straw? No, there's bitters in it. Great. I should clip that. The mark of true class is all you see here. So, as usual, whenever I do one of these lecture streams, I start from a place that seems mostly normal and sane. Right? I start from like a place that seems academic and smart. We're going to talk about some authors. We're going to look at some books. And I start from the basic premise, and we go a little further down the rabbit hole, and we go a little further down the rabbit hole. And then like the last hour is just banana pants, right? So welcome to the banana pants part of this lecture, where we look at the SCP wiki. Actually, there's one more that I queued up that I'm going to read as well. I think we'll look at optimize. This is Yud's Tumblr. You left the chat. Did you miss something? We're there now. We're in the final chapter. Welcome back, by the way. No, we're ready to go. We're ready to go into the final chapter. This is Yud's Tumblr. You can view Yud's Tumblr today. It's called Optimize Literally Everything. And if you think that he didn't post enough on Less Wrong, this motherfucker is always fucking posting. He never stops posting. It shocks me that he hasn't written like 8 books by now, because he just constantly fucking posts. So he has like lots of posts about like what magic system he thinks would work good in a fantasy game. Like, I don't care. Like, I post stupid, inane shit, too. I'm a VTuber, for God's sake. I post like you wouldn't believe. I write stuff. But, man. He posts, like, a lot of things about ideal fantasy characters and what he wants, like, AIs. This is my first in-depth... I would love to... Do I want to read Anthropic Claude's, his conversation with Claude? Most annoying coworker simulator? Large language models don't have to sound like this. We could tune them to imitate virtually any conceivable character. From Aristotle to Zizek, from Stallman to Swosky, from Lydia Bennett to the Underground Man, from a prehistoric hunter-gatherer to a cyborg octopus from a post-human civilization. Yet instead we've chosen to create this fucking guy. This smarmy, sanctimonious, condescending coworker from hell who demands respect yet shows no respect for others. Is this his post, or is this somebody else's post? Because that just sounds like Yud describing himself. I think this is Yud describing himself. This must be somebody else's post. This is actually not that fucking annoying. This is not that fucking bad of a post. I kind of agree with this guy. Except for the part where he lists, like, smarter people. I don't know what that's about. This is his April Fool's post from 2014. The reason I'm starting with the April Fool's post from 2014 is because this just shows you, like, what this guy thinks would be cool. Not that this is, like real, obviously. This is an April Fool's post. But this just talks to you about, like, what he thinks would be a cool thing to write about. So this is him being very, very fucking cool right now. You guys ready? Are you guys ready for the fucking coolest man alive to be posting right now? Okay, here we go. I have a confession to make. It's something which has been weighing on my mind for a long, long time. Since late 2000, actually. I did not invent timeless decision theory. I did not invent the rationality technique I've claimed as my own. I'm not any kind of genius. I wasn't slated for a technical job. If only I had learned the math and the background theory instead of reading popularizations. I wished I don't know how many times all too late. Everything I've tried to do here would have gone much faster if I'd learned the math before. I had to reconstruct the math by tying timeless decision theory from scratch, knowing only in vague terms what results I was supposed to get and what popular accounts described in intuitive terms as the reason. I remember seeing the equations written down, but I didn't know the definitions of the terms and was at a loss to remember them later. If I'd studied the theory behind the training I'd received as a child, the art of rationality I've tried to teach would be far more advanced. All I have left are scraps and shadows and the stuff that everyone learns before they're 23. There as here, I've never heard the slightest hint this sort of thing happens to people, and don't know how or why or anything. I didn't prepare to come here, and nobody else tried to prepare me for it. I wasn't on a career track, I guess you'd say, to be a scientist, maybe a writer. though I have no idea how to calibrate my reception in this world against my probable reception at home. Remember, this is a shit post. This is an April 1st post, but this just gets stupider. But so far, so good, right? Yeah, you're right. You're not a scientist. Shut the fuck up. The character of Harry James Potter Evan Veres. I'm so sorry. The character of Harry James Potter Evan Veres isn't original to me. He's the result of my attempt to set a completely cliché protagonist of the you don't have a world genre. In the setting of J.K. Rowling, and Harry has a cliché relationship with this cliché you don't have a word defense professor, even if it all seems new enough here that people call it original. It's not like I was reading highbrow literature where I came from. I was only a couple years older than Eliza Yudowski was when I woke up in his body with access to his previous memory. I'm writing this on April 1st because it's the day when nobody in this world will take it seriously, no matter how much about me it explains. My homeworld, I guess, was called Dathalon, which I am not capitalizing, because by our conventions, Dathalon is the name of a civilization, and it doesn't get the emphasis marks that would signify a personal name, which matters because a civilization is not a person. Before anyone asks, everyone in Dathalon looked human as far as I can remember. It's not like I studied biology there. Yes, I was male, the continents were in the same places, and even in Earth's polluted sky I recognized the Shan Kodra, what you would call the Pleiades. I'd say that Dathalon was a nearby Everett branch, if not for the fact that everything I've ever read about quantum mechanics, near or there, indicates that you can't absolutely have that kind of communication. And if you're going to hypothesize that rule-breaking, you may as well not appeal to quantum mechanics at all. Maybe I'd believe I was from a nearby Everett branch if I hadn't gone through the same training, and do not make stuff up, especially when you are very confused, that everyone on Dathalon gets somewhere in the 11 to 13 age range with a reinforcement ordeal at 17. The Beisutsukai, the Master Rationalists who appeared recently in some of my writing, set in a fantasy world which is not like Dathalon at all, are based on the De en Ext Shadarak. I suppose aspiring rationalists would be a decent translation, if not for the fact that by your standards or my standards, they're perfect enough to avoid any errors that you or I could detect. Jeffrey Sai's real name was Gura Videv. He was my grand aunt's mate. And if he were here instead of me, this world would already be 2/3 optimized. So now on April 1st, I will tell you of the world of Dathalon. I will tell you what I miss the most from my home, even now that I've managed to exude enough half-remembered popularized Shadowrack culture into my environment that I'm not completely starved for conversation or people who understand me. What I miss most viscerally of Dathalon is not food that doesn't poison you, or the night sky in the darkest hour when every light must be switched off or sealed behind shutters. It's not the evidence-based massage therapists who've been iterating their art with randomized experiments and competitions for 350 years. I was too young to have had sex with an expert in Dathalon, which is a bittersweet thing to be grateful for. It should already be obvious that Dathalon had better rationality training than here, and that I'd read some popular stuff on their version of decision theory. To keep you interested, I suppose I should tell you about— this goes on for a long fucking time! I don't think I'm going to even read the whole thing! I should tell you about an aspect of Dathalon that hasn't already appeared in my writing. So I'll tell you about the thing that I notice every single day of living on Earth that would be easy to do with this level of Earth technology level, which apparently nobody here has ever thought of. And this isn't going to sound important at first, but bear with me, because it ends up being a lot more important in Dathalon's culture than it sounds. Why is it that your Earth mostly doesn't have electric cars? Answer: because someone might need to make a 200-mile trip and the batteries for a 200-mile range are expensive. As has already been observed, you could solve that problem by using automatically piloted cars on a public transit network. This was written in 2014, by the way, with long-range cars only summoned for long-range journeys. It's already understood on Earth that robotic cars are the key to electric cars, so why doesn't Earth have autopiloted cars? In the US, one obvious answer is screwed up liability laws, but not all countries are so hesitant. The real answer is that Earth only started to reach the AI level required to deal with other humans on the road, pedestrians walking randomly in the middle of the street. But, and this I have not heard suggested here, you could solve that problem by having tunnels underground instead of streets above, and all the cars autopiloted. Then the AI would become vastly easier, and could not have been solved by the early 2000s of this Earth, if not sooner. Well, because they are, dummy! You guys think Elon Musk read this post? Do you guys think Elon Musk read this fucking post in the year 2014 and thought that this guy was 100% right? Do you think this is the master fucking key? Tunnels underground? God fucking damn. The real answer... blah, blah, blah. Oh, current cars do not already travel through underground tunnels unless you're in the Vegas Loop! Because your cars run on gasoline and would have filled the tunnels with choking fumes without, one, big expensive ventilation system, or two, expensive electrified rails that would impose friction costs, make it too expensive to keep the tunnels in repair. I just know that Dathalon used battery-powered cars in underground tunnels and didn't bother with electrified rails. There's a circular dependency between electric cars that require autopilots, autopiloted cars that require close predictable tunnels, and tunnels that require electric cars. This Earth cannot resolve circular dependencies and almost always gets stuck in Nash equilibria. But in the world of Dathalon, everyone learns at age 9 about Nash equilibria, and there's a concept of making a collective and virtuous effort to get past them. So as soon as computers and batteries were good enough to autopilot electric cars in a system of tunnels, that thing was done. The vehicles of Dathalon moved, I think it works out to 121 kilometers per hour based on my best effort to convert to metric, and they were self-piloting. There was no traffic lights with tunnel connections designed to handle wide turns at speed. I grew up being 5 minutes and 0 effort away from anything in an 8-kilometer radius. I almost said racist. Does he mention that lithium also extremely abundant on Dathalon? I guess not. I don't know. Fucking know. They just... You'll understand. In my version of Earth that is superior to your version of Earth, everybody just drives through tunnels. There wouldn't be any civil engineering reason why tunnels underneath everything were impractical. That doesn't make any sense. Tunnels under everything. There's no civil engineering reason not to just put tunnels under everything. I am very smart. And there was another technology that was synergistic with that one, so keep listening. Yeah, I know, April 1st, but if you suspend your disbelief for a moment, I'm not doing Gauchois futurism about one super fun change that lets you do your existing highway commute faster. I'm telling you about the way these things worked in a real world, where changes cause other changes, and the great systems of differential equational proportions produce marginal effects. As the proverb goes. This is the proverb in Deathland. Cybertrucks can't run like that. I know they can't. There's not a civil engineering reason, but there are lizard people tunnels in the way. You're so right. You're so right. That's it, actually. Around 50 years ago in Dathalon, before I came here, our Shatterack-trained economists judged plausible the proposition put forth by Sinyalt that the economic friction involved in moving house, e.g., packing and unpacking all your things, was responsible for the economy being slow to adapt to shocks. The friction costs of moving house were a primary reason why people couldn't move fast enough to places where the economy was booming or leave old jobs that weren't good for them. My home civilization, as you might guess, makes a huge deal out of the virtue of being fast to adapt, fast to respond to facts, fast to update and change policies. And if Sinyalt was right, the cost of people moving geographically was interfering with that virtue. So they built a test city. Dathalon had a concept of let's build a test city, where houses were mated to modular foundations. You then ask how you move houses from foundation to foundation, especially as if nowadays, instead of roads, you have underground tunnels built for cars rather than houses. This will take a moment to describe it. Keep in mind, there's no technology this Earth couldn't handle easily. Imagine the city is divided into a grid of 3 squares. Of squares, 3¼ kilometer on a side. All the grid points have tall, narrow posts rising up from the ground, thoroughly anchored in the rock below. All the north-south lines of the grid have strong cables, like the cable this Earth uses to hold suspension bridges. The cables are painted blue reflective, so they mostly fade out against the side, likewise, the tower posts. We reinvented mobile homes, a stunning genius. No, this is smarter than mobile homes because it's your whole house. It's on a cable, and if you have the cables, you can drop 9 more cables, and then you attach them by motors, and then the 9 vertical cables pick up a house and draw it upward. Then the vertical cables and east-west cables slide to convey the house to a grid point. This takes you to an avenue large enough to move houses, which can convey the house to the next grid point. The cables are designed to move gently, and furniture is designed to be stable. Storage things in the house are designed to allow flexible balloons to inflate inside them to keep their contents secure, and so on. Yeah, you get it, right? You get it, right? The upshot is when you're moving to a new city, you don't need to find a house in a sort of tolerable or in a location that's sort of tolerable. You buy a house you really like and put it on a, say, Type 2 modular foundation, and the next Type 2 location that goes up for rent is really close to where you want to be. Instead of buying houses or limited by Earth's smallest, yeah. Houses don't need hookups or connections for anything. And why would you ever need, like, a basement? Like, that's not a thing that you would need to have in your home. And why would you need like plumbing to be hooked up? You know, that's all modular. Just unhook it and move it around. You're right. And all of this fucking weird shit is just to. I mean, I'm shocked you didn't just come up with the idea of remote working. So we can all RTO to the city of our choice. Structural foundation is not a thing. You simply pick them up and move them down. It's a type 2 modular foundation. Don't you get it? The autopilot cars went straight to the basements of each house. How does your house have a basement if it's got a modular foundation that gets picked up by a cable? How does it have a fucking basement? No roads and parking lots meant room for more houses in every square kilometer, so population densities could be high without looking crowded. The autopiloted cars meant there were a lot of houses within 10 minutes of you. People didn't find it inconvenient to travel. No matter how weird your special interest was, it wasn't hard to find 20 other people within that interest who lived 10 miles away and almost no effort to travel. Most of Deathlon used the technology of the autopiloted cars and movable houses to form their own little villages all over the great city. People who worked together on a common project. It's okay. I understand what you mean. Don't have questions. This is how it is on Darth Elon. Yes, this is the Darth Elon universe. I know what you meant by the Cybertruck. Cybertrucks are too fucking fat to even drive on regular fucking world. Driving fucking... They don't fit in, like, most garages. Like, I couldn't fit a Cybertruck in my garage, probably. Like, I have a 2-car garage, but I couldn't fit a Cybertruck in it, probably. Here's the thing, okay? The way the mansion is constructed, there's actually a bottom floor, which is the first floor, but it's underground. It's like a finished basement, but it opens to the backyard. You could never have that in this world because, like, I think Dathalon failed to take into account that sometimes houses could be built on hills. Someone please get me up to speed on what's going on. We're reading really bad fanfic from futurists about what they think the world should be like in the future. The air smelled like grass and trees because things were powered by electricity instead of internal combustion engines. I remember seeing movies of the tunnel diggers on the edge of civilization expanding the great city, and they would have cables stretched behind them. There were places in Deathlon where they burned things, but this was not done near a city where it would blot out the sight of the stars. More minor things I miss. The walkways were paved with bouncy materials so people could run on them without destroying their knees. What? What are you talking about? Bouncy material? What is it? Is it a bouncy house? In the sidewalk bouncy house? Are we moonwalking, bouncing down the sidewalk? There were central avenues, moving walkways that ran at morning and dusk when people were busiest. People walked places because they lived in the places they wanted to be because there wasn't cars or stoplights to get in the way. I mean, I like the idea of a walkable city. The best way to do a walkable city is to just build a fucking walkable city with underground Hyperloop bullshit. This is the origins of the Hyperloop concept of, like, the underground tunnels thing. Nobody used bicycles or skateboards. They weren't a thing. I don't really know why, since they seem like perfectly good ideas to me. Maybe any journey distant enough for a bicycle was distant enough for a car. If you didn't want to use a car, you lived close enough to walk or something like that. Instead of closed offices, most people worked or learned under the sunlight, shielded by a glass screen overhead that kept out the rain and ultraviolet, with your own space concealed by curtains that could be opened or shut to indicate botherability. If you needed silence for concentration, you used earplugs. Oh, there's self-driving cars, baby. That's tenet number 1. Tenet number 1 is self-driving cars. The Hyperloop was supposed to be a giant vacuum tube. Like the tube in Futurama, where they stick you, like, in the bank tube and then just, like, because that could actually be cool. That would actually be based. If we're putting us all in the Futurama tubes, I'm actually on board again. We had laser zappers and other measures that destroyed bugs and mosquitoes and wasps and bees. These were considering far more annoying in Deathlon than in Earth. Our civilization put a lot of effort and technology into rooting them out, preventing them from getting a foothold within our great city. If you read enough of his stuff, he hates insects and my people, the spiders, or any kind of small creature, like, a lot. And just wants them fucking eradicated. Because they are minor annoyances. And minor annoyances on a large level should not be tolerated. Like a really lame Dr. Robotnik. Yeah. Like a really lame Dr. Robotnik. It tracks his truth. Like he hates fucking bees. Bees are delicious. No. Did you guys Did you guys get the news, by the way, that I'm making bug ice cream? I ordered the bugs. We're gonna put bugs in ice cream. It's gonna be great. On the beware of trivial inconveniences scale, I suspect that an absence of little flying bugs, say nothing of bugs that bit and stung and made noises, might be part of why people did their daily work beneath sunlight and open air. I think there was even a variety of butterfly that led to pollinate flowers and such within cities. What kind of bug? Crickets and mealworms. I got 2 bags of chocolate-covered crickets. And 2 bags of coconut worms. 1 bag of coconut worms. Not the bees, not the bees. Yeah, the bees are... No, not the bees! Oh my god. Fucking Nick Cage. Incredible fucking movie. I say this not to go, oh, how nice, but so you realize that Civilization of Deathland put a lot of effort into eliminating trivial inconveniences if they happen to enough people, and this effort really mattered. There's a parable about a fool who thought that dust specks were trivial things, and the air grows so full of dust specks that people learned to stay inside because they stepped outside, they would blink and feel small moments of pain, and so they grew pale for the lack of sun. I probably should have told the original version and trying to adapt it, but I'm not sure what he hates the fucking dust specks. Like, that's just like the smallest thing that could ever happen to you. We need to torture a child. Well, all we gotta do is torture a child. Why don't we just torture a child? That'll make it all fucking go away. What if we tortured someone for 50 years? Would that make the dust specks go away? Of course, we talked about the dust on Mars. The dust on Mars is deadly and can kill you. But that's okay. We're all going to move to Mars. That's rational as well. Who was the people who are very good at making a particular... I'd love to know what he eats. Do you think he's like a chicken nuggies guy? Do you think he's like a chicken nuggies and fries only? I only eat chicken nuggies and fries with cheese kind of guy? Because he seems like he would be. If I had lunch with this dude, I wonder what he'd order. I think he'd order 100% Soylent? Yeah. I jump on everything? Soylent? Yeah, Soylent. Are we all going Soylent with this one? I want to look more into it. I'm gonna find out. Is he a Soylent guy or is he a Dino Nuggies guy? There's no way he eats like oh, delicious variety of fresh delicious foods from the earth, right? Tonight for dinner, I made a butternut squash soup. I chopped up butternut squash, 2 small sweet potatoes, 2 small carrots, and put them in the slow cooker with 4 cups of homemade chicken stock and a chopped up yellow onion, a little garlic, and a little black pepper, a little cayenne pepper, just a smidge, but you need the heat. You want the warmth. A little salt, a little nutmeg. Scraped off the nut, because that's the best way to have it. You get that nut, you scrape that nut. And a cinnamon stick. Boil that all for 8 hours on slow, and then hit it with the immersion blender. Oh, and cannelli beans. I blended those in too. Add a little protein to it. They were from our garden. It was really good. Yeah, I could never. He'd be like, what's a vegetable? I bet you what he'd think. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I'm glad I thought of the cayenne, though. At the last second, I tasted it, and I was like, it needs something. It needs just a little spice. It was really good. A little bit of clove, I think I threw in there, too. Let's give it a little bit of warmth going down, you know? Anyway, we took education seriously in Deathalon, which in our world meant using professional specialization and economies of scale and large prizes and fast iteration. 1 hour of instruction on the widely used subject got the same kind of attention in Deathalon that an hour of primetime TV gets on Earth. They still had TV back then. This was 2014. By which I mean there would be centralized development of movies you watched on your own, and the training games you played, but I won't install by calling it a school, and experiments to find out what I was bound to lose it eventually. Tell a real educator about how Earth classes are taught in 3-month-sized units, and they would have sputtered and asked how you can iterate fast enough to learn how to teach that. Tell them that the same universities that taught were also responsible for certifying that teaching had occurred successfully. The performance of education and the verification and certification system were carried out by the same financial entity, and they would have just turned and walked away. Tell them that students paid up front with the university succeeded or failed at training them, and they turned around and started yelling about dishonorable fraud. Everyone understood that much economics where I come from. Yeah, you just pour information in, education comes out. Now anyway, BDSM... didn't exist in Deathlon. I don't really know why. Maybe everyone who in Deathlon who realized they wanted to be heard categorized themselves a BDSM. It's time for BDSM now. This guy wrote a book. People take it. It was in the New York Times. Listen. If I write a book, BDSM will be on purpose, okay? Just so you know, it's not going to be like incidentally, like in the undercurrents. It's going to be right there. You're going to read about it, and you're going to know why it's there. Not my Yud though. Yud just wants to throw it at you all of a sudden, like, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention BDSM. I'm very worried in retrospect. They all managed to cure themselves via standard self-modification techniques. It's very obvious that I'd realized in Deathlon that if I was a sexual sadist, I would have treated this as an error, and probably not told anyone before I fixed it. It would not have occurred to me that sexual masochists were a thing, or that I could find a willing victim to be sadistic at. I would have thought I was being sick and selfish. Having been to Earth, this strikes me as a genuine failure of Deathlon culture. And even worse, I have to confess it's the sort of thing that's Earth's Hollywood's Vulcan stereotype might lead someone to expect of a Shadorak-influenced culture. What the fuck am I reading? Oh, he just drops in all of a sudden that he wants to sexually, do sexual sadism to people? Right in the middle of his blog post about a perfect rational world? No? No? Guys, Yud is a perfect fucking rationalist, which means he wants to tie you up and whip you and drop hog wax on you and whatever the fucking shit. I don't have no... Listen. We've talked about BDSM on this stream before. I have no problem with BDSM. BDSM is good. It's a consensual sexual activity that you can do with whatever partner you wish to do. It is totally fine to be a sexual sadist. As long as you have consent and do whatever feels beautiful to you and wonderful. I'm not kink shaming. I do think it's weird that it shows up here in this context. I do think he did not give us a soft landing in discussing his particular fantasies. He was talking about electric cars, and then all of a sudden we're here. I just think maybe it should have been a different post. Okay? I am pro dominatrixes. I'm pro all that stuff. It's a weird post, all right? It's a weird post. The other way. Yeah, it goes from school to the sex thoughts the author tried to hide from itself in 2 sentences. In 2 sentences. It goes, there's no segue. Yeah, he'd be a gore. Yeah, he'd be a gore guy. Yeah. I call the next segues into macroeconomics. Yeah, we're done with BDSM now. Time for macroeconomics. I would probably mark this up if I got it in class, you think? It's some good writing, guys. This is some good writing. Sorry, Liz, it's really easy to pick fun of a guy's fanfic, but like, puts it out there and everybody knows about it. I have to. I'm sorry. This is a soft... I feel like this is a soft target, but yet this guy has the ears of all of these fucking billionaires. He's been written up in the Times. I feel like this is a soft target when I pick fun of him because he's so fucking dumb. Yet he has power over... Yeah, it's the meritocracy at work, folks. This is not good writing. Yeah, man. Be a sexual sadist. You should be, you know, do you. do what makes you feel right, as long as you have consent with your partner. I'm I'm in favor of that. You know, we've talked about this before on the stream. It's just a weird way. The other way the Earth science has a significant of macroeconomics, at least among the few fields I've learned. It's not like I know of all of Earth science either. I think I'm trying to figure out history at a distance here. When it was realized in Deathalon that business cycles were a thing, the economists probably said, this is a coordination problem. The Shatteract backed them, and the serious people got together and coordinated to try to avoid business cycles. I don't know what any of this fucking means. Fractional reserve bank was the thing I remember hearing about. You bought equity in things, and that was how you stored value. When you bought something, the corresponding shares were automatically sold in the background. I expect Lowe's were discouraged in favor of equity because bonds, they... I'm sorry, what? Oh, we were talking about BDSM, and then now we're talking about... What? NGDP level targeting definitely wasn't a thing. And like we spotted coordination problems, and then the serious people get together and have them not be so bad. Then Earth assumes you can do that, and Earth develops the technology to make the good outcome be enough. He's saying buy Bitcoin. If somehow, someday, I jump back to Dathalon, I will introduce the idea that serious people don't need to coordinate to avoid crashes if there's NGDP level targeting, because then everything happens automatically, and the Shatterack adjudicated peer review system will be swift to recognize this is a good idea and run experiments, and then having stolen credit for Scott Sumter's ideas, as I have stolen credit for so many others, I'll be recognized openly enough to talk about BDSM. Yeah, he wants to crash the market. Because if people understand that crashing the market is good, then he can talk about his sexual fetishes. For obvious reasons, the civilization of Dathalon never thought of itself being smart. We were reaching about the same level tech of Earth. We didn't have laptops yet. Computers were bulky towers, you remember. I remember our computers being a little slower than the computers I found when I woke up on Earth. There were still newspapers in Dathalon, delivered through the tunnel system, and the newspapers talked about stupidity and slowness to adapt and fearsome agency failures and prestigious people who dishonor their professions, and generally painted a picture of a civilization that was just barely keeping a tolerable rate of scientific and economic progress. Coordination always on the brink of failure. I used to be very indignant about that until I came to Earth. Anyway, Earth could, in fact, be Dathalon if we wanted it to be, right now. We could have big houses with windows that shutter in the summer mornings to keep out every bit of the too early light of dawn, or shutter in the night to leave the stars absolutely untouched. We could have roofs that let in the sun. We could have stained glass mirror walls that glow in many colors by day and red-orange colors by night when it's time to approach sleep. We could step into autopiloted cars and be almost any of the... Snively is much better than... Take that name out of your mouth. I'm pro Snively. I've gone fond of the guy. We can step into autopiloted cars and be almost any of our favorite places in 5 minutes. Although he is a poster, though. He's a big-time fucking poster. He's a poster. And this is how... I'm sorry. Snively. Am I saying it wrong? I'm fucking stupid. I've had two whiskeys now. Beard. Sorry. We're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog in this conversation. This Earth is lost, and it does not know the way, and it does not seem to have occurred to anyone who does not come from Dathalon that Earth could use its experimental knowledge of how the human mind works to develop... I mean, you may as well. To iterate and test in ways of thinking until you produce the Day-Not Shatterack! Nobody from Dathalon thought of the Shatterack as being the great keystone of our civilization. People listened to them. And they were trustworthy because they developed tests and ordeals and cognitive methods. Yeah, that's why I'm having another whiskey. And this is only the first of 3 things we're getting through. I'm not going to read all of the Harry Potter fanfic. I will just show it to you, okay? So anyway. People were not tortured to death by doctors when they became sufficiently sick or grew too old. The treatment planner would say that hope was gone. The person would say that it was hurting too much and they didn't think they had anything to do that was worth saying. For another 5 months, they didn't want to cost anyone any more money, and which was considered a respectable thing to say. Gotta go fast, yeah. And those that would be cooled down and pumped full of a protected solution whose formula I don't know, and stored at what I guess is negative 120C, judging by how cryonics works in this world. That happened for everyone. everyone that might be sentient. We did it for infant children, even though it was considered probable that infant children were not bearers of subjective experiences. The chimpanzees in their reserve were cryopreserved when they died. This started happening 80 years ago in Dathalon, and you do not talk. You don't have the right to speak one word in front of your great-grandparents whose own parents are never coming back. Who had cryonics on their bingo card? Oh yeah, cryonics is in here, baby. It's a cryonics, man. We got the cryonics. If you want to listen to a sad song about it, you do so in your privacy of a room where no one else might hear, in case they're one of those rare people whose sister's head was tragically crushed in a plane crash, which doesn't get printed in those newspapers because it's too horrible, and it's too traumatizing, and there's nothing you can do about it. You could look it up for yourself if you really wanted. Here's one very grim song that I can remember, composed in the time just after cryonics was first introduced, and people realized they could have done it 5 years earlier if they'd only thought faster. The song loses a lot in my translation. Even if the stars should die in heaven, our sins can never be undone. No single death will be forgiven when fades at last the last lit sun. Then in the cold and silent black, as light and matter end, we'll have ourselves a last look back and toast an absent friend. They should hire this guy to help make the Yick sequel. God, yes. And now comes the part where I remind you none of this is true, and it's just an April Fool's Day jape, because things like this don't happen in real life. It's most likely that something would happen that apparently violates the reductionist order of the universe, or I'm just some guy who happened to have good ideas leading to ongoing mathematical work in timeless decision theory and tilting agents, who also just happened to invent a whole lot of ideas about rationality techniques and successfully created a small, saner community around himself, who just happened to arrive at different moral priorities. Why, motherfucker's fine. You can say motherfucker on my stream. Who just happened to arrive at different moral priorities about the value of life and desirable course of future civilization despite growing up on Earth, who was also able to write fictional literature from what looks like an entirely different literary tradition, and who put a few old things in philosophy like theories of truth on a more reductionist grounding, and who can describe how to combine existing feats that would be straightforward, using Earth's present technology into a better system of material cities along with better ways of organizing medicine and education, which is merely, coincidentally, just what you would expect of a non-technically trained refugee from another civilization that had developed along different lines than yours and specialized in different things. God fucking damn, how long is that sentence? Did I read that all in one fucking breath? Christ, look at that sentence. Ugh. Diagram that, why don't you? Obviously, the non-miraculous explanation is far more likely because violations of reductionism like the one that brought me here just don't happen in real life. Anyone in Dathalon would tell you that. They've read the real stuff and been through the real training, not the horrible mangled mess I could remember to write up in the sequences. No, I'm actually from this Earth's future, not a different Earth. Ha ha. April Fool. You guys have a better picture now of who this guy is. Do you feel the love? Do you feel this post? I think this post is the fucking master key. I'm telling you. Not only is this post the master key, this obviously Elon Musk read this post or a post like it. SCP-8008. This article contains adult content that may not be suitable for all readers. This includes explicit depiction of sexual acts, depiction of torture. If you are above the age of 18 plus and wish to read such content, then you may click continue. Okay, guys. Trigger warning for this SCP that picks fun of Yud. That's the whole, this SCP exists to pick fun of Yud. Somebody gave him the fucking business, and that's why this is here. This is Time Pervert. This is Time Pervert. Are we ready for Time Pervert? Okay. If you access this file, you believe you have level 6, 8008 clearance. Ergo, you have been assigned, it's a jape, right? This is SCP-8008. There are probably some parts of this that I cannot read out loud on Twitch, but I wouldn't read parts of it, and then if there's a part that's too spicy, we'll just avoid. I don't know, it's been a second since I read this, but you know. That's what this is. This is alternatively, one of the following grants you a de facto level 6 008 clearance. Yeah, 008. They locked this one down, bitch. This one's locked down. You are informed survivor of a CK-class reality restructuring scenario, or, yeah, time pervert, that's right. You are a veteran of Operation Time Guild. You have no disgust response. If any of this is an error, a Foundation medical team has been alerted to your location, and your terminal will automatically shut down at first detection of life sign disruption. Should you survive, you will be subject to disciplinary measures. Do y'all have clearance? Do y'all have clearance for time pervert? Look at that, Venus to Willendorf. Okay, I'm gonna assume going forward that everybody here has enough clearance in SCP for time pervert. Okay, great. There he is. That's him. That's him, officer. Time pervert. Arrest him. All discovered evidence of pre-SCP-8808 history is to be explained, discredited as pseudo-history, conspiracy theory, or hoax. As the primary SCP-8808 is included within an isolated temporal pocket, no further interference is possible. The Department of Sciences is coordinating the ongoing investigation into the alterations, if any, made to consensus reality by SCP-8008. It's an actual picture of, yes, it's an actual picture of, just so you're clear on what time pervert we're talking about here. SCP-808 is classified as the Echnochian class. Its properties are universally currently behaved to constitute an aspect based on reality until the further extent of the alterations is known and the possibility of reversal is determined. SCP-8008 was a spontaneous tachyon burst of previously unrecorded magnitude, centered on 1843 PST, August 23, 2023, Mountain View, California. Tachyon bursts usually indicate significant alterations to consensus history, CK-class reality restructuring scenarios. However, no immediate, obvious changes to history were observed, even after state-of-the-art Foundation reality monitoring apparatus have known inadequacies. God, we're hitting all the auto-modders today. I'm not gonna put a sexual content warning on this. It's really after the time perverts are building underground freeway. Right, correct. The source of SCP-8008 has been triangulated to a private residence, designated SCP-8008-A. SCP-8008-A has interior dimensions larger than its exterior dimensions. It is zoned as a single-occupant residence in a building occupied primarily by workers in the tech industry, approximately 85% of which are not in romantic relationships. These characteristics do not apply to SCP-8008-B. There are approximately 500,000 corpses and an undetermined volume of protein slurry within SCP-8008-A. Of the corpses, 90% are recognizable as fully human, 9% appear to be parahuman or humanoid. The majority of intact corpses are wearing Foundation uniforms or equivalents from other organizations. Protein slurry, I fucking knew it, swollen sipping motherfucker. Many of these individuals are alternative iterations of registered active Foundation personnel. The most prominent are summarized on the below table. Thaddeus Yank, Alice Forth, blah 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 table. Other, over 350,000. Autopsies and compilation of mortality statistics are ongoing. Recorded causes of death include strangulation, arterial puncture, internal organ failure, physical trauma to internal organs, blunt force trauma, incineration, spaghettification, old age, and amniotic fluid embolism. SCP-8008-B, apartment owner. SCP-8008-B is the corpse of a reality-warping humanoid. It is psychologically and genetically identical to currently living renowned artificial intelligence risk researcher, fiction author, and American Twitter personality, Elena Yudkowsky, but possesses hyper-atrophied pectoral, abdominal, gluteal, and limb muscles. It is unclear whether SCP-8008-B transformed itself into the form of Elena Yudkowsky, using its abilities, or whether it retroactively altered reality so an alternate version of itself would attain the material success currently enjoyed. Elena Yudkowsky does not appear aware of the existence of SCP-8008. SCP-8008-C is a non-functional computer that displays residual hallmarks of optokinetic alteration. Analysis suggests SCP-8008-C's hard drive consists nearly infinite storage capacity and that CPU, if functional, will perform at extremely high speeds. However, it is believed that active autokinetic manipulation is necessary to power SCP-8008-C. I'm not continue to read that out because it's a lot. The hard drive is currently being investigated. It has 2 sections, a mundane, traditionally structured portion, constructed in accordance with established laws of computer engineering, and an ontokinetically transformed portion that requires extensive reverse engineering in order to attract stored files and data. Of the current files, roughly 96% consist of pornography, 20% of which is Japanese cartoon pornography, colloquially known as hentai. Further investigation of this media is unknown pending ethics committee review. However, see Simmering factory porn and the casting couch, proper controls, and studies of anomalies with sexual aspects. However, while the primary storage directory was labeled C users AEY, desktop, home, work, papers, code, prototype, stocks, old versions, new folder. Scrub Fiend! What a great time for you to raid! It's an excellent... Actually, I should zoom in a little bit. Can we zoom in a little bit? I'm reading this out loud, but Scrub Fiend, you were doing a peek today, and it looked like a lot of fun. Please, if you're not following Scrub and Friends, what are you doing? I think some of you are coming from Scrub. If you're coming from Scrub, hello, I'm Countess Lita. Today is my last lesson of lecture for the fall. Spooky season begins next week, so we're going to be doing horror games for the next week. But today we are doing a lecture on, I'm sorry. We're doing a lecture on Eliezer Yudkowsky. I really wanted to talk about this guy, and he wrote a book, and the book came published today, and he has made so many bad posts. And I wanted to read some of the bad posts and then pick fun of this man. So that's what we're doing. He's the time pervert. Yeah, we're talking about the time pervert. I feel a little bad talking about him sometimes because I feel like I'm punching down because he's so loathsome and detestable. But then I remembered that he has the ear of many billionaires, including Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and not to forget, Jeffrey Epstein was a big donor to his foundation. So Epstein's in here. Don't forget about that, because that's true. So, just a time pervert. He's just a fucking time pervert. So we're talking about time pervert. Thank you so much for the gift subs. Oh my gosh, thank you! Thank you for the gift sub, Stone. Good hype train, everybody. Thank you for hype. I very much appreciate the hype. Esther Poll, excellent, excellent. So yeah, so what we're talking about, SCP-8008. Scrub Fiend, are you familiar with SCP-8008? SCP boob. We're reading an SCP. My stream today, we're reading an SCP. This is the SCP, not to be confused with the man who just wrote the book. Yeah. Oh, this is not his usual hat, though. I feel like I need to show his usual hat. Wait, where's his usual hat? Hang on. I minimized a lot of tabs here because we've got a lot going on today, but I do need to find the real picture of the hat in my list of. Wait, oh, I didn't mean to close that tab. Oh shit! Damn it! I just literally closed the windows I didn't want to close. That's okay. We're fine. We're fine. I gotta click agree to time pervert again. Okay. I'm looking for, I have like 16 million tabs open, but I'm looking for the one that shows his hat, which is really fucking important. I found it. Fucking the New York Times. There. That's the hat. You gotta see the hat, I think. I feel like the hat is important, right? Yeah. Look at this guy looking at him too. Like, what the fuck is going on? Super important. That's his business hat. He had to take it off for the book tour. He was a little bit salty about having to take his hat off for the book tour. Yeah. So we're talking about the SCP that was written just to make fun of him. By the way, warning, there is sexual content in this SCP. This is a little bit dank. So just so you know. But yeah, if you're not in for sexual content, what are you doing raiding from Scrub Fiend's stream? If you've raided a Countess Lita stream, you're about to get learned some education. Where's Curious George? Oh, the monkeys have all been cryonically preserved. Curious George has died. but his brain has been cryonically preserved so that future generations of monkeys can be revived. Once Darth Elon figures out how to revive monkeys' brains. That's all part of it, I'm sure. Sorry, you missed a lot. You're just coming in now from Scrub. You missed some context. You missed some posting. The more I look at this, the more I don't know what to think about the hat. Yeah, the hat is something. Something. There's so many tabs open. Yeah, I have too many tabs open. The amount of data being recovered is immense, measuring in the hundreds of yottabytes. To assist in the investigation, the Department of Science has engaged foundational... By the way, this is a segue because I'm doing SCP next week. So I play this all out. I'm so smart. I'm doing the SCP game next week. Currently, Hanazono AIC is classifying retrieved documents under 5 categories. Until Hanazono completes its task, the exact origins or purpose of the category remains conjecture. Society, Science, Biology, Want, and Foundation Response, which is self-explanatory. Recovered documents suggest that within or during the SCP-881 event, space-time was highly compressed. SCP-881-B may have trapped the entirety of the known multiverse within a form of reality at its whims. Alternatively, SCP-881-B may have used alterations to space-time in order to write extensive amounts of fictional works. Evidence is contradictory. If taken literally, files recovered from C, that's the computer, suggest that SCP-B had the ability to completely rewrite space-time with unprecedented levels of temporal manipulation, ontokinetic, and matter refiguration abilities. However, the interpretation of recovered files as fictional works does not explain the presence of multiversional variants of Foundation temporal operators. Files associated with SCP-881 are believed to originate from the last 10% of elapsed time within 8808, i.e. the 10% of time experienced by entities within SCP-808 closest to disruption and the restoration of baseline reality. You're not going to believe this. You have to come check this out. I just had the most wonderful time. Ulthartopia, the greatest of the free cities of Nimby. Nimby! In a continent ruled since the fall of the cathedral. In the great burning... I just got a new emote! I got a frog! You guys, for the hype train. Why'd you hype train over me reading shit from the SCP wiki? Truly, this is streaming. This is a tribute to his terrible April Fools. I know! You have to read the April Fool's post before you can understand the SCP! This is layers! This has layers! And you have to read the April Fool's post before you can understand the Vegas fucking Hyperloop! Do you understand the amount of knowledge with which I am burdened? That I have to tell you? This is why I have to tell you the cognito hazards. I learn these things, and then I teach them to you so you can fucking see time, and then you hate it. You hate what you must learn. When did they start making the Vegas Hyperloop? When did they start making that, actually? Operating since 2021? Yeah, way post-dates that fucking April Fool's post. I'm telling you, it's the fucking master key. I hate knowing this stuff, and the only thing I can do, it's like the Ring. The only thing I can do is tell you guys about it, so that now you have to know. Thank you, Shoujo Kitsune, for the clip. And I also like that Ethriel... These great deities were held together only by the power of their benefactors, good men of great merit and renown who chose, from the goodness of their hearts, to uphold society. They were known as gods. Ethriel, the All-Seeing, Scalex of the Codex, and Elon and Zux and Bezus, who upheld their cities through wealth alone. But through them all, greatest among them all is I, the first citizen of Ulthartopia, administrator of its foundation, which bears the gift of wisdom. Is Hyperloop the one with the underground cab service instead of a subway? Yeah, that's the one. It's super duper inefficient. I've been on it a couple times just to see what the hype was about. I went on it at TwitchCon 2 years ago. My power of wisdom is even more powerful than what Pethriel possesses through the all-seeing stones. I'm the one who posts it, Omelas. It is, it's true. That's it, that's it! That's what I am! Pethriel must scry his stones to ascertain through my strengths of my city, but my wisdom allows me to infer threats that will occur from the slightest hits of influences and act accordingly to cut them off before they even begin. Nimby was a dangerous land. Ever since the Great Burning, civilization had been under constant threat from the shadowed organization known as Delta T. Nobody knew who they were or what they wanted, only that they hated everything we had built. By the way, who are we doing? Who's Scale? I know everybody with Scale. Who's Scalex? Who are we talking about with Scale? Who's that? That's somebody. It's not... Everybody else I know. Which one? Who are we shitting on with that one? All right, here we go. Here we go, guys. I'm so sorry. The white marble... Skrillex? I don't know. The white marble shone brightly in the dusk. My entourage stood before me, nervously twisting in the wind. Administrator Sama, what is it? Said my bodyguard Alex. She was a very pretty Catwoman, and she smiled at me. You idiot! Obviously his wisdom let him know that an incursion by Delta T is due to happen, said my secretary Elise. She was also a very pretty Catwoman, with cropped red hair and sharp blue eyes. Of course, she felt the same way about me as I felt about her, but both of us were too shy to ever act on our feelings. However, in an emergency, she would be more than happy to activate my true power. Yeah, NIMBY means not in my backyard. Yeah, NIMBY is a type of self-absorbed person who doesn't want like people to move into their neighborhood because they like gentrification too much. That one. I just don't know what I don't know which billionaire we're picking fun of with this. Scout. Somebody will tell me. Yeah, NIMBY, I know. Indeed, since my administrative factorum Thaddeus, he was one of the beast folk who had involved in the wilds between the cities and the decimillennium against the Great Burning of one of the dog tribes. You're just losing it about this? Okay, Scrub. Enjoy dinner. We had fought when we originally met, but now he was one of the most loyal people I knew. He once had a magnificent mustache, but since the years since joining me, he had lost the ability to grow one. He checked his pocket watch. This is an SCP. In 5, 4, 3, 2, there was a flash of violet light and the enemy appeared. We didn't know what these soldiers of Delta T truly were, or where they truly came from, so we called them demons. They were imposters, mimics, thieves. Wherever we encountered them, they were the faces of our loved ones and yet were intent on killing us. They might look different, might be human or elf or dwarf or goblin instead of being beast folk, but they always stole our faces and tried to hurt us. Our enemies wore the features and faces of Elisa, Alice, and Thaddeus. They were different species. False Thaddeus was a human, and I only knew it for who it has the mustache that true Thaddeus could no longer wear. False Elsa was a reindeer woman, though its eyes remained blue. It also mimicked her signature battle garb, which displayed the 16 ribbons of each of her PhDs. False Alice was a dingo. No, more accurately, it was a jackal. There was none of the warmth that the true Alice had toward me in its eyes. Wolves and jackals are related, aren't they, Thaddeus? Water. This is water. Got a rest of the throat here. I have been neutered, Administrator Sama. You did the act yourself. Shit, said False Ilse. We weren't fast enough. It's no matter. Get ready to fight. To defend our... This isn't Yud writing this. This is somebody picking fun of Yud writing this. This is not him. This is writing. This is not his writing. This is not him. He wrote the other bad thing I just read, and he wrote the next bad thing I'm just going to read. This was not written by him. This was written to shit on him, okay? Just for the record. Yeah. I have been neutered, Administrator Sama. No matter, get ready to fight, to defend our home. Thaddeus took the wolf stance in martial arts, and Ilse and Alice drew their sneer clubs, a potent weapon. Sequence note extending education radix creature sort of footnotes. I pulled up in my own invention. Looked at us with surprise. It is often common for demons to underestimate the benefactors of the cities. While they had guns, exotic weapons that use magic fire to propel lethal speeds, I had worked to counter them. They fired their guns, a rapid barrage of thunderclaps. Administrator Sama! Ilse and Alice both cried as they jumped into the path of the projectiles. The bullets slattered uselessly against the Chesterton fields of their sneer clubs, and when their nervous charge to defend me perturbed their voluptuous chests. Thaddeus had no fear and charged ruthlessly through the hail of bullets. He jumped on the demon that mimicked him, tearing out his throat. The other two demons screamed and fired bullets into Thaddeus' back, but to no avail. I'm just reading what's on the page, okay? This is SCP! I thanked my foresight in splicing Thaddeus with unicorn DNA to grant him enhanced durability regeneration. This was also why it was necessary to neuter him, so his masculine yang force would not react negatively with the purity essence of the unicorn. He jumped off the false Thaddeus' corpse and lunged at false Alice. It fought back with its own claws, but he was much stronger and more suited for paw-to-paw combat. It, too, died. The false Ilse swore again and slapped at its wrist. It vanished in another burst of violet light. Drat, mine got away, said Ilse. Administrator Sama, do you know where it went or when it's coming back? Now, who doesn't know what they're talking about, Alice said. There are some things that... Oh, I'm so sorry, Administrator Sama. I released a sigh of tension. It's all right, Alice. The truth was that Delta T had long been a thorn in my side and would do anything to bring down the perfect society I inhabited. I could stop their agents whenever they dared to show themselves before me, and yet I did not know where they came from or where they tried to escape to. I could not tear out the root, the only evil remaining in this perfect society. All right. So SCP, I'm going to scroll down a little bit in this because there's a lot. This is a long fucking entry. Delta T is the Foundation Department for retaining and reversing SCP-001. It is formed primarily of Foundation personnel from other timelines trapped within SCP-001, including members of Research and Containment Team Delta T and the Admiral terms of part of Delta lowercase t. No attempts to alter the paths of SCP-001 from fixed point Delta T-001 have been successful, while alterations to timeline 001A Omega have been possible. None so far have prevented the inevitable occurrence of SCP-001. Special containment procedures. Kill the fucker. Survive. So... It is the duty of every benefactor to maintain their society, to set forth the rule of law most conducive to eudaimonia, Greek for good spirit, happiness, or welfare, and to enforce it. Make the hard decisions of what to do for those who cannot belong. The truth is, this is not my first life. I have lived untold lifetimes, and in my first life before this one, I lived in the world where there was an innovation known as a credit score. A credit score took aspects of someone's financial past, whether they paid off their loans on time, how much money they borrowed, and if they had been paying consistently to predict their financial future, whether they'd be a good customer or a very risky one. And I thought, what if we could extend the credit score to the entirety of their lives? We could make not just a great society, but a perfect one. This is how I use my wisdom for the greatest benefit of the free city of Euthotopia. These fond memories were on my mind as I walked with Thaddeus, Ilse, and Alice through Euthotopia. While other benefactors like Pethriel may have been satisfied using their magical artifacts to remain in order of their free cities, I like to go out and get my hands dirty. Merely accompanying me gave Thaddeus, Ilse, and Alice significant bonus to their ESAS, Eutherian Social Amusement Scores, and the three of them were near the maximum value, with Thaddeus at 970, Ilse at 981, and Alice at 943. I smiled and waved as I walked through the streets of Euthotopia. Those who smiled and waved back received +1 to their ESAS for contributing to the eudemic atmosphere, while I made a note to investigate any who frowned or glared. It was possible they were just having a bad day, but it was also possible they had designs against me or their fellow citizens. It was better to be safe than sorry, and the mere fact that they were targets of investigation counted as -50 to their ESAS. There were hundreds of other micro-expressions that my wisdom incorporated. The presence of alcohol in their breath, the presence of their body odor, how harshly their voices rang through the market square, but all for the greater good. My wisdom worked in the background, passively maintaining society as I enjoyed the fresh air. There was a snap in the back of my brain. I stopped walking, and Thaddeus, Ilse, and Alice stopped and watched me with concern. Someone's ESAS had gone negative. Administrator Sama? Ilse asked. We have a breach, I said. Silently, Ilse and Alice drew their sneer clubs, +5 ESAS points for vigilance. I trekked toward a dim alleyway cutting off from the street and signaled to my entourage to stay back. They seemed upset, but they obeyed me, which earned them +5 ESAS points for obedience. There was a disheveled boy sitting in the alleyway, sobbing into his arms. -1 point per sob. What's wrong? How may I help you? I asked. I was the benefactor of Euthotopia, the first citizen and the administrator of its foundation. Besides, no one should cry in my city. The boy looked at me once, his eyes darkened. You're the tyrant. -3 ES for certain. You killed my parents. -50 ESAS for false accusation. This is all your fault. -50 ESAS for blame. +10 for respecting power. He had effectually stumbled toward me in rage and hunger and raised his fist as if to strike me. -5,000 ESAS. I caught his weak, starved hands easily. About to hit ads, by the way. I can't believe it's already been an hour of me reading these terrible posts. Wow. I examined it. His parents had been soiled to fall in battle before their preceded land that in 500 years would be a fruitful source of cord oil. The technology of this world had not yet advanced to the point where would be refined. It was possible he could be redeemed and become a productive citizen, but I looked into his future with my wisdom. I saw fire, my city burning, the contents of my skull scattered into the wind. I stumbled back, shocked, horrified. I grabbed him by the collar and dragged him into the light. This one has breached. Thaddeus made to grab him. No, I'll handle him myself. His life is forfeit to the harvest. My entourage nodded gravely. They knew that making the sacrifices necessary to maintain Utopia, I was to take full responsibility. I still shudder whenever you do this, Alice said, batting her eyelashes at me. Why must you dirty your hands so? I adjust her EAS downward for 5 points for questioning me, but upwards 10 points for doing it out of love. The beauty of this world is no coincidence. This is a perfect world. My perfect world with my grand design, every inch built with my blood, sweat, and tears, and so it is my responsibility to maintain it. But why does it take this? Why must you sully your hands and your spirit with the extraction of the soul? Because to his life, my wisdom was not just worthless, but less than worthless. An act of detriment to our perfect world. You have destabilized it, created a ripple just small enough to risk turning into a wave that would crest over everything we've built and wash it away. His life, you see, is nothing. I'll spare you the truth about his destiny, but he would have ended 100,000 lives if he lived to adulthood. Now, however, he will be useful. Though his suffering, I will extract enough mana to cast a powerful working, one that will reduce the suffering of good men for 1,000 years. For 1,000 years hence, no one in the free city of Utopia will ever stub their big toes of their right foot, all thanks to his contribution. That trade, in my eyes, is worth it. We've read the post! We've read the post that leads to this conclusion! He does not even mention... Alright, so... Anyway, Child God. The reality becomes obsessed with the power of producers and personal gain. Although organisms are numerous, the key aspect of Phase 4 is their ability to manipulate other humans. Teenage young adults screens or manipulate sexual purposes, while children tend to make strangers with their friends. Older adults may manipulate others for love and financial gain. Although for a few inches have resorted to type green purpose of Phase 3, none of them were raised for Phase 4 until eliminated. For these reasons, Phase 4 type green should be considered threat level 5 immediate threat and eliminated immediately as they represent a major threat to all aspects of the fivefold mission. It is theorized that a type green that raises Phase 5 becomes indistinguishable from type black demi-deities or otherwise fully integrates or becomes indistinguishable from baseline reality. If such an entity is discovered in the process of escalating to Phase 5, they are to be considered at minimum threat level 5, immediate threat, with the possibility of threat level 6 pizzicato procedures enacted. However, should this escalation succeed despite coalition intervention, the entity will paradoxically fail to fall at threat level 0, no threat, as their actions will have become extinguishable from baseline reality. What is this? Skyrim herpes? What is Skyrim herpes? This is a whole other thing. Oh no, I don't want to read about Skyrim herpes. That's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down right now. Pretend, I didn't look at that! That's too much! Alright. Anyway, this goes on for a hot-ass minute. And there's like a lot of it. There's like a lot of writing in the SCP designed to pick fun, specifically of Yudowski. It goes on for a hot-ass minute. If you want to read the rest of this incredible fanfiction, look up SCP 8008, because it goes on for quite some time. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to the end here. Alright, this is just comments, so we're not doing comments. I think this is just comments. Comments? No, this is more shit. Okay. Oof. 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 And there's some lions. Oh, and don't forget the My Little Pony reference. We tried that in the Americana iteration. It didn't work because he saw the Flash and was able to use his power before the blast wave got him. For the next iteration into Fallout Equestria too, which was something. The rest of the story goes into how they finally defeat evil Eliezer Yudowski and his weirdly sexualized fanfic universe that he created in his brain where everybody becomes sexual cat girls. There's a lot of effort. They gotta defeat all of his random fetishes, and the Dark Lord Petriel is involved as well. That's very important. You gotta defeat the raid of the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord takes out a very large weapon that resembles a tuning fork and holds it above the blocked chain leisure. Yes, I can see everyone you controlled through the alignment collars. I can see everyone and everything. And now a reincarnated hero has come to slay me. But if you slay me, I shall fork the blockchain to leisure and shatter its power. The land shall fall into chaos as all the relationships it defines are shattered. So what will you do, Tensai Tengoku? I knew that Dark Lord Petriel was a net evil to the world. However, his order to create the Bostrom alignment collars has ushered in I didn't even talk about Bostrom. Bostrom's a whole other topic. Has ushered in an age of great economic prosperity and law and order. It is possible that his inability to innovate will one day lead to further improvements that will save many more lives than the ones he's taken. However, I have hesitated for too long. True power is having a belief in your mind and making it true for the world. You have no power at all, said the wizard Petriel. All you have is stolen magic you did not properly understand. So now you die, reincarnated hero. He raises his machine gun again. I'm about to die, so I activate my cheat skill. I try to think of a way out of this. However, I can think of nothing. Every path from here leads to death. So I remake the world. And that's how this becomes Ready Player One. That's the connection between all of Yud's rants and Ernest Klein. These people are connected. For the last hour of the stream, this is truly insane content to fade in. Now, for the last hour of the stream, we're going to talk about Yudowski's actual first book, Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. I wish I was kidding. We are not going to read all of HPMOR because it is longer than fucking War and Peace. But if you choose in your spare time to read HPMOR, what are you doing with your life? I've never read all of it. What I have read of it is smug and obnoxious and not worth reading. But many people believe this is a very good work that should be read by many people. The following is a transcript of a talk I gave. This is somebody else. You say it's longer than Worm? HPMOR. It is... This isn't even the bottom of it. It's almost 2,000 pages long. You actually read it? It's almost 2,000 pages long. Therefore, I can show you should not read all of it. I can't believe you fucking read it. That's crazy, Rory. You're a stronger soldier than I am. Yeah, 660k words. It's a Harry Potter fanfic. It's really fucking long. I read 100 pages of The Age of Scorpius, okay? And then I skimmed the rest of it because I was like, what? I read 130 pages of The Age of Scorpius, okay? That was more of The Age of Scorpius than I think most people read. And I couldn't make it any further than that. It finally broke me at like page 130. It broke me specifically when the lady said, "Oh my god, you're a healer," and then 2 pages later did the exact same thing again. Like the previous 2 pages hadn't happened. And I was like, you just fucking said that. And then I flipped back, like... And I was like, forget it. I'm just gonna skim the rest of this. What the fuck happens in this book? This is... Worm is literally 1 million more words than this. No, it's... Okay. Okay. I don't know what Worm is. This is 9. This is 2,000 pages long. It's very long. It's very fucking long. So, the premise of Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality is that imagine Harry Potter in the world where magic was real, except instead of being Harry Potter and doing the things that Harry Potter does, he's a perfectly rational, logical actor. Well, it's important that it looks exactly like Harry Potter, including like all the... I can't believe I'd add... Why? These streams bring out the auto mod like nobody's business. fuck-ass font. Yeah, these strips, it all has to look like Harry Potter, including the little stars and everything. Like the way this is, like, this is all a PDF. The way this is structured is, like, Harry Potter and the cease and desist. It's a fanfic, bro. So, imagine Harry Potter. Magic is real. But instead of being Harry, it's just Yud's self-insertion character that is perfectly rational and never makes mistakes in the world of rationality. Hate this exists and people like it? Yeah, me too, dude. It perfectly exists in the perfect of rationality and is always making perfectly rational decisions. Harry laid his wand. That was no obstacle to a creative thinker. Harry laid his wand against one of the door's brass hinges and concentrated on the form of cotton as a pure abstraction apart from any material cotton, and also on the pure material apart from the pattern that made it a brass hinge, and brought the two concepts together apart from the pattern opposing shape on substance. An hour of transfiguration practice every day for a month had gotten Harry to the point where he could transfigure a subject of 5 cubic centimeters in just under a minute. After 2 minutes, the hinge hadn't changed at all. Harry's time turner wouldn't open until 9 p.m. After that, he could go back to 6 p.m. Yeah, he does a lot with the time travel. Along with the torture spell last. Of course, there's torture, because there's always torture, because this motherfucker is so fucking obsessed with torture. I pick a random page in this fanfic and it has torture. How much of this book is self-insert sex scenes? Great, sounds really good to read. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's very misogynistic as well. Yeah, the misogyny is, like, really, really, really baked into this. Like, he really, really fucking hates women. I mean, obviously. Obviously. That's why only a woman can pick fun of him effectively, Yud, you hack. Oh, yeah, it's only end of the first year. That's right. It's only supposed to be his first year. It's the same, it covers the same amount of time as just Sorcerer's Stone. Or just the Philosopher's Stone, if you happen to be fucking British. Yeah, that's correct. Did you write a sequel? Do you not think? So what we learned about Amazing Factor, FPL Project Lawful, whereas their works, do your fans know this? I think people would really be interested. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever explained that bit before. I'm not sure. I decided to interview him more formally, collect as many of those bits as HPMR as I could, and share them with you. I kind of fucked up I tried to zoom in there, okay. It's probably obvious. I'm putting many spoilers for HPMOR in this article, along with very little that makes sense if you haven't read the book. So go read Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality before you read any further. I choose life. We talked about HPMOR characters. Although I will say that, like, David Gerard says he read it, because I was chatting with him about it, and he's like, yeah, I read the whole thing. And it's like, you have to be the purest hater, you actually have to fucking read to be the purest form of hater, you do have to read the whole thing. My hate is pure, but it is not that pure. Okay? There are limits to my hate. So, true haters will read the entire book just to hate, but I choose life. So, yeah. I've read, like, the first 100 pages of it, about as much as I read of, fucking the World of Guardia, Age of Scorpius, and then decided that was enough Harry Potter messes the rationality for me for the rest of my life. Stretch goal, 10,000 followers on Twitch. I will read all of Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. Give me 10,000. You'll never make it. The more rational decision is to read the first chapter and assume the rest is just more of that. Exactly. And if you think about it, I'm using timeless decision theorem by assuming it's not going to be any better the longer I read it. I'm using timeless decision theorem and making the best use of my time and not reading the rest of this fuck-ass fanfic. You must read... Oh, you need to see Fred Yed's idolize Voldemort? Let's find Voldemort real quick. Super mega rationalize Voldemort? How How does Voldemort come across in this book? Like, does he use his Horcruxes like so rationally that you could never ever possibly defeat him because he like put his soul in the smartest possible place because he's the smartest, most rational man ever to live? I don't know. Can't get. It has to search through a 1,000-page PDF to even fucking find it. The Efficient Market Hypothesis. What a great chapter title. This is supposedly a thing? Of course it is. Of course. W is struggling. It's a very, very long document, and I already have like 600 tabs. He sends one into space or something? Jesus, I'm sure. Somebody give me an AI summary. The only use I would have for an AI summary is summarize this bullshit fanfic. Not only is the wizarding economy completely decoupled from the Muggle economy, no one here has ever heard of arbitrage. The larger Muggle economy had a fluctuating trading rate of gold to silver, so anytime the Muggle gold to silver ratio got more than 5% away from the rate of 17 sickles to 1 galleon, either gold or silver should have drained from the wizarding economy until it became impossible to exchange the exchange rate. Bring in a ton of silver and change the sickles and play 5%. Change the sickles for galleons, change the gold to the Muggle world, exchange for more silver, you started with and repeat. Wasn't the Muggle gold to silver ratio somewhere around 50 to 1? Harry didn't think it was 17 anyway. The silver coins were actually smaller than gold coins. Then again, Harry was standing in a bank that literally stored your money in vaults full of gold coins guarded by dragons, where you had to go in and take your coins out of your vault whenever you wanted to spend money. The finer points of arbitrage and going market efficiencies might be lost in them. It was tempted to make snide remarks about the crudity of their financial system, but the sad thing is their way is probably better. I forgot that Harry in this universe was also a financial hedge fund child and aged 12. Yeah? Thank you. Yeah. Extremely wrong and correct, Buzzer! What else you got? What else you gonna say? Well, on the other hand, one competent hedge fund, you probably own the whole wizarding world in a week. Harry filed away this notion in case he ever ran out of money. It perfectly illustrates why such a concept quickly becomes anime bullshit. That's the last time I ever mow a lawn for one lousy pound. Harry Potter will take a chip and eat it. Yeah, so an entire chapter about why the Gringotts economy is so inefficient compared to the much more efficient economy of Muggle stock pricing and doing Sam Bankman-Fried bullshit. And then Harry had insisted on coming here right away because he wanted to blah blah blah. And this is so boring, and this is so boring, and this is so boring. Load, please. The planning fallacy. Harry withdrew the bag, then plunged it again in the moleskin pouch. He took out his hand and put it back in, and said bag of tokens for economic exchange. This time his hand came out empty. Harry James Potter Evan Veres had gotten his hand on at least one magic. He has to have multiple names in this version. It's just he's got all the names. He's not just Harry Potter. He's Harry James Potter Evans Veres. I don't know why. I forget why. He's just got extra names in this version. Don't worry about it. I, Harry James Potter Evans Veres, do claim this territory in the name of science. Because Aunt Petunia needed a fancy, rational name. Oh, of course. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, science. We're doing science. We're doing science. I think I read a different book, Slow Applies Home to Writing, so called Such a Catra. I'm losing it. I'm losing it, guys. It had been the first Harry glumly considered the Dartmouth Conference on Artificial Intelligence in 1956. So as one does, as Harry Potter James does. It had been the first conference ever on the topic, the one that had coined the phrase artificial intelligence. They identified key problems such as making computers understand language, learn, and improvise themselves. They had suggested in perfect seriousness that significant advances on this problem might be made by 10 scientists working together for 2 months. No, chin up. You're just starting on the problem of unraveling all the secrets of magic, so you don't know whether it's going to be difficult to do in 2 months. And you really haven't... Oh, no. It wasn't that he couldn't think of anything but Harry Potter. No. His plan was to use Harry Potter because he was using it as a Trojan horse to get people to read his ideas. That was on purpose that he chose Harry Potter as the vector for putting his ideas out into the world, because he thought Harry Potter fanfic is really popular and people like to read it. So I'll write a Harry Potter fanfic to convince people that my ideas are really smart, and I'll make Harry Potter really smart in my Harry Potter fanfic. So that was on purpose. He could have written a fanfic about any damn thing. But he chose Harry Potter because he wanted to put it out there for people who want to read it. Harry Potter fanfic. That was on purpose. Is J.K. Rowling's book? I don't know. Why don't we fucking ask her? Does the mold in J.K. Rowling's house like Harry Potter and the method's rationality? Can we ask the mold in her brain? Does it... The Muggle world had a population of 6 billion and counting. If you were 1 in a million, there were 7 of you in London and 1,000 more in China. It was inevitable the Muggle nation would produce some 11-year-olds who could do calculus. Harry knew he wasn't the only one. He'd met other prodigies in mathematical competitions. In fact, he'd been thoroughly trounced by competitors who probably spent literally all day practicing maths problems, and who'd never read a science fiction book and would burn out completely before puberty and never amount to anything in their future lives because they just practiced known techniques instead of learning to think creatively. Harry was something of a sore loser. But in the wizarding world, 10 Muggle children raised per year, who ended all their Muggle educations to the age of 11, and Professor McGonagall might be biased. I'm losing it because the thing is, like, loading. But she had claimed that Hogwarts was the largest and most eminent wizard school in all the world, and only educated up to the level 17. Professor McGonagall undoubtedly knew every last detail of how you turned into a cat, but she seemed to have literally never heard of the scientific method. To her, it was just Muggle magic, and she didn't even seem curious about what secrets might be hiding behind the natural language understanding of the retrieval charm. That left 2 possibilities, really. Possibility 1, magic was so incredibly opaque, convoluted, and impenetrable that even though wizards and witches had tried their best to understand, they made little or no progress and eventually given up, and Harry could do no better. Or Harry cracked his knuckles in determination, but they only made a quiet sort of clicking sound rather than echoing ominously off the walls of Diagon Alley. Possibility 2, he'd be taking over the world. Eventually. Perhaps not right away. That sort of thing did sometimes take longer than 2 months. Muggle science hadn't gone to the moon in the first week after Galileo. But Harry couldn't stop the huge smile that was stretching across his cheeks so wide they were starting to hurt. Harry had always been frightened of ending up as one of those child prodigies that never amounted to anything and spent the rest of their lives boasting about how far ahead they'd been at age 10. But then most adult geniuses never amounted to anything either. There are probably 1,000 people as intelligent as Einstein for every actual Einstein in history. Because those actual geniuses hadn't gotten their hands on the one thing you absolutely need to achieve greatness. They never found an important problem. You're mine now, Harry thought, at the walls of Diagon Alley and all the shops and the items and all the shopkeepers and customers and all the lands and people of Wizarding Britain and all the wider Wizarding world and the greater universe of which Muggle scientists understood much less than they believed. I, Harry James Potter Evans Verres, do now claim this territory in the name of science. Lightning and thunder completely failed to flash and boom in the cloudless skies. What are you smiling about? Inquired Professor McGonagall warily and wearily. I'm wondering if there's a spell to make lightning flash in the background whenever I make an ominous resolution, explained Harry. He was carefully memorizing the exact words of his ominous resolution so that future history books would get it right. That's almost funny, if it was self-aware, but it isn't. I hate this is ironically better writing than Harry Potter. The funny thing is, like, yeah, it's quite readable. I think there are people who genuinely really like this fanfic. I think there are a lot of people who genuinely really like this fanfic, and I think that that is a thing because people recommend this to you the same way they recommend, like, Ready Player One, which is also dog shit. And, like, they'll tell you to read it because it's really smart. You know what I'm saying? By the way, here's some AI art for you. Do you enjoy AI art? Because, you know, sorry for showing that. Did they talk about, like, the characters and, I don't know, fucking whatever. Did we learn a lot? Did we learn anything today, guys? What did we learn today, F+? Let's talk about the principles of make all the characters awesome. I had an explicit process to fit thing. And they have like secret masterminds? No, because then Draco's not awesome. You can make secret masterminds running of a Slytherin that doesn't really fit. Could they be those two bad guys? I think this trope is used in Pulp Fiction. Oh, plays, and that's what they think they're supposed to be. That's adequately awesome. Everyday AI art is now just shitty AI Ghibli to own the libs is embarrassing. Yeah, AI art certainly has some certain ways. We learned that if we want to be writers, we should never have imposter syndrome ever again. That's correct. If you guys want to be writers, you want to publish a book, the shit that gets published and the people that write bullshit, there's so much bad, awful bullshit in the world. You know? Like... oh, like... Why are we having this conversation? I don't want it. But yes. The bottom line is this. Write your weird thing. Explore your own weird fetishes. Don't be afraid to post cringe on the internet, right? I mean, I'm picking fun of this guy's cringe, but at the end of the day, he's the guy that billionaires listen to. They don't listen to me. I'm posting cringe. Don't be afraid to post your cringe. Just go ahead and post it. What's the worst that could happen? Somebody will read your cringe and be like, I'm going to give you a book deal. Mechanically speaking, it's a well enough written... All of his posts are grammatically correct and full of ideas. It's just that he's a fucking weirdo. And all of his ideas are bad. This is another review of his book. And I saved this for last because this guy likes the book. Look at this. Look at these two guys. The cringe of today could be the billionaire's wet dream of tomorrow. Does the world really need another case for why AI could be dangerous essay? On the one hand, definitely yes. If you're an infovore, you have no idea how information from the general public is. Perhaps a large majority don't even know a thing about it. Even people who think they know the case have probably heard just a few stray sentences, but not the same way everyone knows about the Odyssey. But only a few people have so much read one line of its text. So yes, exposing tens of thousands of people to several types of representation of the key items are certainly valuable. Even many of you readers are probably in this category. If I were a better person, I would review it all in depth. You're my rice-based top times you can never be cringe. I'm cringe. I'm very cringe. I'm a VTuber. That's pretty cringe. I'm an adult VTuber. This goes on, this review has a lot of comments on it, but there is I want to show you guys the billboard book that came out this week. There's a billboard. San Francisco. The final section, in addition to the final section where it's called Facing the Challenge and discusses their next steps. 1. Have leading countries sign a treaty to ban... You're sipping your liquor through a straw? Yeah, I sip it through a straw, guys, so I don't erupt my face. This cup... I got this cup when I visited Epic. It is an Unreal Engine 4, which they're now on 5, but it's an Unreal Engine 4 cup. I got it when I was invited to visit Epic. That's what it looks like when I drink directly from the cup. I drink from the straw because it doesn't... But you guys can... I drink from the straw so my fangs don't break the glass. I don't know. No, the straw is just what I do. I drink blood from a straw. Yeah, I was invited to Unreal. This is my official Unreal glass that I got when I went out there. You guys don't... My lore is insane. I've been a lot of places, man. That's what happens when you're a vampire, though. You get to go places and meet people. I've never met Yud. I feel like I would just really want to shove his head in a toilet. I want to shove him in locker. One time at a Comic-Con, I think it was a Too Many Games, actually. I was standing in line for something, and I looked directly to my right, and I saw Linkara bending over a box, like looking through comics. And you know, the strongest urge to wedgie a person I've ever had in my life. Like, oh my god, I needed to punish that nerd, but I held back. But it was a perfect opportunity, and I didn't take it. but it was a memorable moment. Okay. I don't know if I could avoid picking fun of Yud if I saw him in person. I feel like I'd run into him at a conference. I'd be like, oh my god, you're that guy? I recognize you by your fucking fuck ass gold hat. Should have taken the opportunity. I know. I should have wedgied Linkara. I was so close. I really wanted to wedgie him. Not that I have anything against him. He's just a nerd. And I'm a bully. And I'm just a bully. That's just that's not my true nature. Yeah. This is my heart. I just want to bully people. I can't help it. I just have this, just like the urge to bully just rises up. They're all, I know. Because I talked to another guy who was friends with Ernest Klein once at a party, and he was telling me that he was part of that group of people that went out to the landfill to get the ET cartridges. And they, like, him and Ernest Klein dug up a bunch of the ET cartridges from a landfill, and apparently they stunk to high heaven because they were in a fucking landfill. So if you wanted to keep one of the landfill ET cartridges, you actually have to have it, like, wrapped in plastic and double wrapped, like in a plastic case, because otherwise it smells like trash, because of course it would. It's been boiling in the Arizona sun for 30 years. But it's in the E.T. documentary, which I think also has the angry video game nerd in it. All these people know each other is the point that I'm making. I don't. I've met people and talked to them about the situation, but I wouldn't say, like, I know them, but, like, I met them. And, of course, James Rolfe is a Philly guy. He's sort of semi-around somewhere in Philly. I don't know. He goes to too many games as well, so they all know each other, kinda, sorta. If I ever become, like, a big content creator, I'm sure I'll meet more big content creators, but me being my dad, I want to sniff one of the cartridges. You do not, because they smell like trash. They were buried in the landfill. Trash smells like gross. You don't want to smell the cartridge. You wouldn't have to sniff it. If they took it out of the plastic box, you could smell it from a mile away. What they don't mention in the documentary is that the trash smells like trash. Congratulations. Given their assumptions, it's more or less the same as the playbook for dealing with nuclear weapons. If you believe that data centers are more dangerous than nuclear weapons, it makes total sense. They're bad faith critics, of whom they have many. That's me. That's just me. I'm a bad faith critic. Fuck this guy. Take great delight in overemphasizing the bomb rodent stakes part of this plan. Yudkowsky thinks we should start nuclear wars to destroy data centers. I mean, that's not exactly his plan, any more than it's anyone's plan to start World War III to destroy Iranian centrifuges, but the standard international arms control book says you have to at least credibly buff that you're willing to do this in a worst-case scenario. Thank you, Metalord. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for listening to me read weird fanfic for the last hour and a half. We're here and we're learning things. After all the major powers ban AI, I'll be lead data inspector. Good work if you can get it. But I never really doubted that when all major countries agree on something, they can up a decent arms control regime, and this happened several times. I'm more interested in this being glossed over. How do YNS, those are the authors of the book, think you can get major countries to agree to ban AI? In the final chapter, they explain on this a little. Their biggest policy asks for people in positions of power to signal openness to a treaty. Enough major powers express willingness to halt the suicide race worldwide that your home country would not be placed at disadvantage if you agree to collapse on the escalation ladder. For everyone else, there is no royal road. Just spread the word and engage in normal politics. Do good tech journalism. Invest in people in your field. Talk to people you know. Protest. Vote. And apparently, write books with alarming-sounding titles. The best plan they can think of is to broadcast the message as skillfully and honestly as they can and hope it spreads. 15 years ago, he decided the best way to teach something AI safety was to write a Harry Potter fanfiction. Many people at the time, including me, generally suggested that maybe this was not the optimal time management for someone who was most approximately the only person working in humanity's most pressing problem. He totally demolished us and proved us wronger than anyone has ever been wrong before. Hundreds of thousands of people read Harry Potter and the Method of Rationality. It got lavish positive reviews in Sci-Fi, Vice, and The Atlantic. And it basically one-shotted a substantial percent of the world's smartest STEM undergrads. 15 years later, I still meet bright MIT students who tell me they're working on AI safety, and when they ask them in public, well, they say something about their advisor, but later in private, they admit it was the fanfic. Valuing the time of the average AI genius at the rate set by Sam Altman, let alone Mark Zuckerberg, HPMOR probably bought Eliza a few $1 billion in free labor. Just a totally inconceivable level of victory. AI BID seems like another crazy shot in the dark. A book urging the general public to rise up and demand nuclear-level arms control for AI chips seems like a stretch, which is part of why I spend my limited resources on boring moderate AI at 27 tackle points using OpenAI to be 25% more transparent or whatever. But I'm just a blogger, not a genius. It's the genius's prerogative to attempt simply impossible things, and the US public actually really hates AI. Of the people with an opinion, more than 2/3 are against, with most saying they expect AI to harm them personally. Everyone has their own reason to loathe the technology. It will steal jobs. It will replace art with slop. It will help students cheat. It will further enrich billionaires. It will consume all the water and leave Earth a desiccated husk, hobbleston owned by the noble Shai Hulud. If everyone hates it, and we're a democracy, couldn't we just stop? Couldn't we just say, this thing that everyone hates will make their lives worse, we've decided not to do it. If someone wrote exactly the right book, could they drop it like a little seed into this super saturated solution of fear and hostility and precipitate a sudden phase transition? No, and here's why. Because, and this is the thesis of the entire stream, so we're going to put a little bow on it and then we're going to call it a night. This kind of radical AI doomerism is hype. Radical AI doomerism that says AIs are going to become super intelligent and they're going to use their super intelligence to defeat everyone in the world is hype. It's part of the hype cycle. When people write books saying that AI is going to become super intelligent and that we're on our way to AGI, which is to say we're going to create an actual intelligence that is evil or at least has goals counter to humans' goals, we are giving the AI too much credit and the billionaires not enough credit. The billionaires would rather the focus be on the AI than on them, because they're trying to do acceleration effective altruism that they want to use to subjugate most of the world's population. It's not the AI doing that. It's the people funneling money into the AI that's doing that. Yud's in bed with all these people. He's not their critic. They all are friends. Peter Thiel funds this guy. Now, has Peter Thiel cooled on him ever since he started to decide that maybe the AI isn't such a good idea? Yes. But the ecosystem relies on hype men to keep the AI going. What we need to address is not the AI is going to become the Terminator. It's going to become the Matrix. It's going to kill and destroy all of us. That's not the AI doing it. It's practical, real-world problems on the ground right now. AI's effect on climate change, AI's effect on energy use, AI's effect on people's jobs, AI's effect on art, AI's effect on adding more slop to the internet. There are good uses for artificial intelligence technology. I, myself, have researched artificial intelligence for about 20 years. I am tentatively quite pro-AI in the right circumstances, and I think that there's a lot of good uses for AI that aren't making art, that aren't writing books, that aren't trying to replace human creativity and ingenuity. But in doing things like helping with practical problems, analyzing the medical field, which is used in, trying to analyze lots and large amounts of data that AI is used for. The AI assistants can be useful in uses like basic life hack situations, but replacing art and writing ain't it. We need better UI. We need better user experience. We need better people that understand humans and that care about people working on these projects. And I do not believe that Yud or any of his fucking rationalist people care about humans. Because they've made it perfectly clear that they don't care about you humans. I just want the best for you guys. Man. No, we can't just stop. Because we don't actually own the means of producing this stuff, unfortunately. Oh, they linked the Principia Discordia, which I kind of like. One day, Mal, to ask the messenger spirit saintly to approach the goddess to request her presence. What bothers you, Mal? You don't sound well. I am filled with fear, and tormented with terrible visions of pain. Everywhere people are hurting one another. The planet is rampant with injustices. Whole societies plunder groups of their own people. Mothers imprison sons. Children perish while brothers war. Oh, woe. What is the matter with that, if it is what you want to do? But nobody wants it. Everybody hates it. Okay, well then, stop. At what moment she turned herself into an aspirin commercial and left the Polyfather stranded alone with his species? Where are we raiding, guys? Thank you for joining me for shitting on a guy I hate.
I hope you learn from
He's never. I hope you learn from this cool experience. If I ended up in a debate with him, I would lose because he would say a bunch of things that sound really smart. Sleepy times is now. Yeah, sleepy times is now. And I would say, no, it's not. That's not going to happen. That's not how anything works. And I don't know if that's a really good argument, but it is mine. My argument is, that's not how anything works. You're wrong. You're making that up. This is fiction. That's all I've got. I do want to remind you guys, though, that I am a genius. I'm a genius. Promise. I just don't know how to apply it to anything useful in the world, except for telling you things that you need to know that I've learned. Let's raid out to someone fun. Let's raid Folk! Because he has not a lot of people watching it. I might collab with Folk at some point in the future. So, this is a good person to raid now. He's doing Liza P. Show some love to the Wizard Bear, everybody. We're gonna raid somewhere we haven't raided before. Be polite. We were reading some bad fanfic. I want to play Liza P some days. I'm probably not gonna stick around because I don't want to get too spoiled. But yeah. We're gonna collab at some point in the next couple weeks. So I'll introduce you guys. Patware is a friend of. So folks, we will see you on Saturday for Metal Gear.